Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another evening of fantastic Thursday night racing entertainment. For we are here today once again with the UKSimRacing Securities Porsche Cup Season 9, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today marks round 9 of 13. Goodness me, the season charges on, and we're here today in the United Kingdom, albeit we've gone back in time. We've jumped in the TARDIS in commemoration of Doctor Who, of course, the British TV series, and we made our way back to the year 2008 for the one and only Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit, albeit before the reconfiguration which occurred in the 2010s, and we're back at arguably the faster layout of the Grand Prix Circuit, which is already considered to be one of the fastest road racing circuits in the world. With a whole multitude of high speed and medium speed corners, extended straights and heavy braking zones, it is a circuit like no other when it comes to high speed, high downforce racing, and given the nickname of what is the home of British motorsport, it deserves that title, having been the birthplace of many a championship series drive, including the likes of Lewis Hamilton, and going back through the years also the likes of Jenson Button. But as our drivers get ready to go racing today, and the circuit which continues to push our drivers to the absolute limit, they're going to have to contest the fact that the road racing surface is going to be 2, 3, perhaps even 4 wide at most instances, and therefore the best defence is a good offence. Our drivers will battle into every corner and look to charge away for victory over the course of the racing today. Well, we welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side, available via the official UKSimRacing media platforms, of which there are 2. And firstly, you may be tuning in by YouTube at youtube.com and just search for UKSR or UKSimRacing. And we do say hello there in particular to Wake and Bake Racing, who says let's go Lazarus, cheering on Kory Lazarus there, and more on the New Zealander in due course. Alternatively, you may be tuning in via the Twitch chat, and indeed you can be tuning in via twitch.tv/UKSimRacing. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch, which do include there Shazzy, also Olympus boss Charlie B. I think that's Charles Bushell there, who's looking forward to seeing how the race goes, and Shazzy there cheering on the null pointers. And to those of you guys and girls who haven't said hello yet, don't be shy, feel free to say hi, regardless of whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. We can see both chats and let us know how you're doing and who you're cheering on today as we get ready to go racing today. And in the commentary booth, you have myself, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now I bring you all your racing action from Circuit Side over the entire season. And goodness me, whilst we may be 9 rounds in, we've still got plenty of racing to come. And let's give you a recap of that championship calendar. But as we can see, today is Thursday the 1st of February. January has absolutely flown by. We're already 1 month out of 12 down in 2024. And we started the story off all the way back on the 21st of December 2023. Just before Christmas, we start off with an early Christmas present. It was round number 1, an endurance race round opener at Circuit Zandvoort. Recently relayed in the iRacing simulator platform to commemorate the 2022 layout, where the circuit was reconfigured with high camber on the majority of the corners. The Dutch circuit absolutely delivering a dream of a season opener, where our favourites end up being in sharp instance, both Thomas Cope and Philipp Hammer having it all go wrong, and in the end it would be Mario Vehlgut who would take the win overall in the gold class. Then rounds 2 and 3 at Motorland Aragon in Spain, we continue to see the trend of intense battling, with Thomas Cope running away at the front of the field in the gold class, and meanwhile in the silver class, Matt Strand emerging as an early favourite on the 28th of December, before we then made our way onto the 4th of January 2024, and starting 2024, our drivers made the way to the infamous Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium for rounds 4 and 5, and there we got to see battles aplenty in amongst all of our drivers, and indeed all of our drivers absolutely enjoying the battling from start to finish, no doubt about it, before they made the way over to the United States of America for the one and only Sebring International Raceway. And in round 6 it was about managing the bumps and the sparks, and those who did came out on top, and Fusion Racing in particular on their debut under the rebranded team from FR20 Sim Racing, enjoying one of their finest nights of racing on the 11th of January 2024. And then had our first mid-season break week before returning last time out on the 25th of January at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edina Ferrari, or you all know and love it referred to as Imola in reference to a local Italian township. And well, for rounds 7 and 8 we got to see some absolutely brilliant battling at the front of the field in the gold class, albeit with the absence of Thomas Cope, it was the arrival of Daniel Sedgley for Olympus Esports, who took his first win of the season in the feature race. And meanwhile in the silver class we got to see Glenn Humberstone take both wins back-to-back, his first ever 2 wins in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Series. But meanwhile Matt Strand continues to lead by a margin, and we'll come on to that shortly. But after today, after round number 9, we do have our second mid-season break week, and we'll be returning on the 15th of February for round number 10, our 4th endurance race round, and that'll be at the Nürburgring Combined Circuit, indeed taking on the full Gesamtstrecke layout of the infamous Green Hell. And in Germany we're going to see our drivers absolutely go all the distance there before making their way back to United Kingdom for the final time this season to take on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix Circuit on the 22nd of February and what will be rounds 11 and 12, our final heat and feature combination. And we bring it all to a close by going down under to Australia and reviving from the building site of which has now become a housing estate, the Oran Park Raceway, a legendary circuit in its own right in the Oceania region, and we'll get to see exactly why it is known as a legendary circuit on the 29th of February as we bring the curtain down and bring the season to a close. But we're not bringing anything to a close just yet. And in fact, let's give you an update on the championship standings after its 8 rounds of racing. And we start with the Gold Championship standings. And here we can see in the Drivers' Championship, Philipp Hammer leads the way ahead of Daniel Sedgley, only based on result countback, but they are joined at the top on 178 points, the Impulse Racing Olympus Esports drivers. It goes to show you how close it is. And Thomas Cope right now sitting a further 38 points behind. Well, that is practically an entire round of racing points. And indeed, you have to keep in mind with Thomas Cope being absent last time out, it means that he has locked in a 0 score in terms of his drop score week for the remainder of the season. Now he's got to try and get every single point to get ahead of the 2 rivals. Meanwhile in P4, Vehlgut there, the second Impulse Racing driver, who sits a little bit further behind, only by 4 points behind, finds himself in a challenging position where results have not gone his way this season, even though the fact he has proven to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest driver out there, particularly when it comes to qualifying pace on average. And then we do have Luke Andrews, the Cube Controls Reparto course, who under 107 points leads the rest of the chasing field in that 5th place position. He's only 6 points clear of Emil Koopmans, the Effect Simulations driver, carrying on from where he started with Effect Simulations last time out, and we're looking forward to plenty more from him, as we are from the SimRacing Collective's Matt Acton, with Marcel Fritsch, James Parker and Forsten Svet completing your top 10 there. And behind the Griffin Motorsport driver, who's not having any luck this season, and Imola catching him out last time out, no doubt about it. Well, we have Ryan Walker a further 4 points behind in Bester SP11, head of Kory Lazarus there on 69 points for Blackout OPR, and it's Lee Holmes and Fabian Sitter who complete your championship standings. Then coming on to the silver class, and here we can see we have a runaway leader in the form of Racing Lab Esports Matt Strand, and indeed he has been the man to beat from round to round, and his consistency is proving troublesome for many, with Paul Halliday sitting the best part of 31 points behind. The no pointers driver just cannot seem to find the consistency that Strand has, and indeed results not going his way last time out at Imola. It means that Halliday now finds himself falling further and further into the chasing pack. With Steve Hobbs in P3 on 141 points, it's close as the 2 drivers battle on hard, albeit then with Joel Duton in P4 for the wrong stuff on 120 points. Right now the battle for being inside the top 3 could not be closer. Sean Dobie sits P5 for clicks with ATEC Racing, and then Craig Schill in P6 ahead of Alistair Hatch there for the Cyan outfit. Well, both drivers there looking to hunt down their sister team driver Sean Dobie, who had a difficult day at Imola. And then we can see what is Wayne Basson at P8 there for Fusion Racing. Well, unfortunately we're not going to be seen on the grid anymore this season due to personal circumstances, and you can see him in YouTube there. And do give him a hi if you are in YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, because I think Wayne would really appreciate it, given the fact he's going to miss the racing for the remainder of the season. But I can tell you, it's not through foul agreements with anything at UKSimRacing. It is purely simply because of the fact that personal circumstances don't line up. Indeed, we're going to miss him on 105 points there. Indeed, that's where his point total is going to stay. For Guy Kiley out, P9 for the wrong stuff there. Things started to move in the right direction. Next, Glenn Humberstone to complete your top 10 with a huge points injection last time out with that double win at Imola. Jason Mumford, Danny Weston, Matty Wild and Cameron Smith complete your standings. We do have a new silver driver on the grid today to replace Wayne Basson, and we'll introduce them accordingly soon. But then we come on to the Teams Championship, and here we can see Olympus Esports on 318 points. They lead by only 11 over Impulse Racing. It could not be closer between the 2 teams. Indeed, every week we say this and we mean it. It is a back and forth tug of war between them, and then everybody else is chasing for P3. Cube Controls for Parto Calls hold on to that 3rd place spot currently by what is 8.0 Effect Simulations, with Griffin Motorsport completing your top 5, only 2 clear Satellite Racing. There's ATEC Racing are moving closer to the top 5 down 69 points, 1 clear of Racing Lab Esports, with the SimRacing Collective and Blackout OPR, they're completing the top 10, and indeed from P10 all the way up to what is P3, it's only a margin of what is 32 points, and over the course of a single night of racing, we could see a major swing inside that top 10. The null pointers sit a further 5 points behind that. Best the rest ahead of WS Racing Esports, who are further 2 off. And there's ATEC Racing Sign, who bring out the back end of the field with Fusion Racing, Breeder Sport, the wrong stuff, Project 88, and Clicks with ATEC Racing completing the championship standings. But now coming on to our circuit for today, it is of course the 2008 Grand Prix Lounge on the Silverstone Circuit, Located near the village of Silverstone, from which it takes its name, in the Northamptonshire county of England, the United Kingdom, as we can see from the circuit map provided us by iRacing.com. And thank you as always to iRacing for the brilliant track maps that come with a fantastic simulator. This is the old school layout of the circuit that indeed ran all the way up to the end of what was the noughties decade of the 2000s. And as our drivers will charge around here today, they're going to be remembering a good few memories when it comes to real world and also virtual motorsport. Whereas they charge their way down the old finish line straight up towards turn number 1 at Copse Corner, it's going to be immediately into the sweeping right hand that proves troublesome for many to go too wide as they roll the way on through it and down to the maggots into Beckett's complex. There it's going to be left, right, all the way through, and as they wind on down and gradually come down through the gearbox to 3rd gear and then power the way out of Beckett's corner and flat out through Chapel, it'll be the charge down the hanger straight. Up towards Stowe Corner, the fast right-hander, our drivers then carry the way onto the bow and down into the chicane at turns 8 and 9 before rolling on round through turn number 10 at Club Corner, and on to the back straight they'll go before turning left to Abbey, where you'd normally turn right these days, with the new start-finish line straight being there, and also known as the Hamilton Straight. But as the drivers go left into right, their turns 11 and 12, they'll find it a sharp right-angled left-hand corner, followed by right-hand king that sends them onto the farm straight, and down they'll roar into the bridge complex before rising up on high into Priory, and then make their way onto what is now known as the Wellington Straight, albeit the short tail end of it, as they go into the Brooklands into Luffield complex at turns 15 and 16, the two medium to low speed extended hairpin style corners there with late apexes catching on drivers out. Through Woodcock Corner they'll charge on through to complete lap and do it all over again. Indeed, it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, and all of our drivers will be absolutely itching to take on the circuit. But before they do, a quick reminder of the rules. We can't go racing without them, of course. And in terms of qualifying, an open qualifying format shall be used, which will see all the drivers out of the circuit for 20 minutes, and they'll have those 20 minutes to set their best possible time. Now, drivers may not reset to the pits outside of the pit lane. If they do decide to tow to the pits outside the pit lane, that shall end their qualifying session. And that adds a little bit of realism to qualifying, but it also adds a little bit more risk versus reward in the fact you could go all in for a single lap, but if you get it wrong, we'll put the car in the barrier and you can't drive it back into the pits, your qualifying session is over. You start from the back of the field or where your previous best time would put you. Now, race-wise, the maximum permitted fuel load has been limited to 30 litres, which does mean we are expecting some pit stops over the course of the race, and typically 2 pit stops, albeit we should point out there are no mandatory pit stop requirements. Drivers must choose when to pit of their own demise in the fact that if they decide to come in immediately or come in at the very end of the fuel tank, it's all up to them, and changing tyres is entirely optional, but they will need to take on fuel at some point. There's only going to be a 45-minute endurance race day, a single race that commences by a standing start, as is a tradition of our endurance races and the league as a whole, and the grid will be set based on results of qualifying. And if our drivers manage to pick up 24 more instant points, then they shall be subject to a drive-through penalty, and the points of this round, of course, are being the additive combination of the traditional heat and feature points format. That's enough rules, regulation, everything between. You're here for the racing, and as we head back to our live circuit side pictures, let's take you through the schedule for tonight. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time at UTC, and as we can see, in just under 2 minutes time, we're going into that 20-minute qualifying session. All the drivers absolutely going all in to put it on pole in their class, if not overall, after which we'll head to the grid with a 5-minute breather in between to give our drivers time to warm up and get the setups right in the car. But then approximately what will be just after 20 past 8 this evening, we will be seeing our drivers head to the grid for our 45-minute endurance race to wrap up the mid portion of the season. We're in ambient temperature 19 degrees centigrade, a track temperature 22 degrees centigrade. It's nice and cool, the conditions here, and that means all the drivers right now will be absolutely ready to give it everything they can in the car. And well, speaking of one driver, always gives it everything. Here he is. We said we'd talk a little bit more about him when we came to circuit side. It's Kory Lazarus of Blackout OPR, and well, the New Zealand driver, mindful of the fact that he's joined the season a little bit late and therefore can't necessarily get involved in the top of the championship, but still looking to put on some great performances, and he did so at Imola, really keeping the fight on versus Daniel Sedgley and Philipp Hammer. And as he makes his way on through maggots into Beckett's right now, we're looking forward to seeing how the 404 driver gets on here today, knowing the fact that he does have the pace to win races. We've seen it previously in his career in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, and could we see him take a win today, given the fact that currently he's the fastest driver in this final practice warm-up session. As he makes his way on down the straight, I think back in the car from getting ready to tow it to the pits, or just cooling the car down in general. Speaking of another man who will be looking for pole position today, Thomas Cope for Olympus Esports, and as we said earlier, the driver right now who in that gold championship will be looking to maximise his points today, given the fact he did miss Imola last time out, a circuit which he doesn't normally go too well at, or he doesn't enjoy, so therefore I think that might have been a bit of a grace that he wasn't able to make the round at Imola, but he's back on the grid today, all fine and fit and well, and we look forward to seeing another 64 driver from Olympus Esports gets on here. But we do have some new drivers to introduce, one new driver to introduce, and we'll talk a little bit more about them when we go into qualifying. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, the checkered flag comes out on this final practice warm-up session. That means it is time to transition to qualifying, and 20 minutes coming up, and who is going to put it on pole? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's see who does it. So as all of our drivers now start to make their way into the cars and the 20 minutes gets underway with still lovely conditions here at the Silverstone Circuit. A bit of cloud coming on over, as you can see in the background there. Indeed, a gentle wind blowing as well. And this Silverstone Circuit, of course, being based on the site of what was a former RAF airfield. In fact, 3 runways pointed in a triangular fashion towards one another. And therefore, for our drivers, in fact, 2 runways. I'm thinking the Snetterton with the 3 runways there. You'll have to forgive me on that one. But 2 runways previously, with it being RAF Silverstone over the course of the Second World War. And the circuit being converted from what was an airfield in the into one of the premier racing circuits in the world, and that means you have very little elevation change. You have minimal elevation change around here, and the only main elevation change you are going to see is effectively in the run coming on through what will be bridge up towards Priory. Other than that, no major pronounced elevation changes as such, and that means it really does come down to here about nailing those late apexes from corner to corner and carrying all the speed you can on the long straights here in order to be able to go on the attack into the next corner. It is a very tricky circuit to get right for the simple reason it's very flat, and therefore the whole concept around it is you want to have that confidence to carry 1-2 more miles an hour compared to your rivals into the next apex, and in doing so you may find yourself leading the charge up towards the next corner and you can battle on the brakes. But also it does mean you have to think about qualifying versus the race, and in qualifying you want a car which is able to run extremely comfortably under its own whim and not necessarily in dirty air. Meanwhile, when you do go racing, particularly if you're not expecting to qualify the car on pole position, if you're expecting to be in the midfield, you may want to set the car up to run in the turbo and other cars to run in the dirty air. But of course, in doing so, it typically means you're going to have to run more rear wing to do so, and therefore you lose your straight line speed, and that is an act which you have to try and find a balancing act for, in the fact that whenever you run more rear wing on these Porsche Cup cars, you can lose quite a few miles an hour on the long straights, but conversely you'll feel more comfortable in the corners. And where do you go for the speed? Is it the corners or is it the straights? Well, our drivers will be the ones who decide that when they set the cars up. But speaking of a man who'll be looking to set himself up for success today, here is your newcomer for the remainder of the season, replacing Wayne Basson down at Fusion Racing, albeit they're all teammates, and therefore they're very happy to see him take over from Wayne when Wayne unfortunately had to pull out of the remainder of the season. It's none other than previous silver champion Adam Greaveson, and well, he's back on the grid in the number 54, and we look forward to seeing how the Briton gets on here, in the fact that he's a highly decorated UKSimRacing Porsche Cup driver and taking the championship crown in back in what was, if my memory serves me correctly, season 6. It was absolutely scintillating style, and well, he did compete in the gold class in season 7, albeit not quite able to match the highs of the silver class, but he's back in the silver class today. I think he'll definitely be looking to set those lap times on fire in this qualifying session. But as he makes his way on through at the right hand there of Luffield, getting ready to go on to a flying lap, well, I think it's only fair, ladies and gentlemen, we jump on board with Adam Greaveson for a flying lap of the Silverstone Circuit, as it is his first time back on the grid, and here we go. So he makes his way up towards the timeline, in towards turn 1. He'll be braking about 125 minutes from corner apex down to 4th gear, a little bit deep off the apex curve there, but keeps it nicely on the exit curve as he powers his way up through the gearbox, now heading towards Magazine to Beckett's. He notices he'll turn in late, position the car for a straight line, braking into turn number 3, and he'll just gradually trail brake and wind himself down the gears into 3rd gear there as he comes through turn 4 and now into 5, into Beckett's corner, and as he does so starts to feed the throttle and gets on it nice and early, and now flat out through Chapel and all the way down the hanger straight as he makes his way up towards Stowe. Now he'll bring the car gradually over to the left-hand side, open the corner up as much as possible, and he'll look for his brake mark on the left-hand side and braking at what will be about 100 metres from corner apex all the way down to 3rd gear. Goes for a nice late apex, now starts to feed the throttle and through. Little bit of power oversteer there as he battles through the corner. Now up towards the Val chicane, going onto the brakes here, in towards turn number 8. All the way down to 2nd gear, through the left-hander into the right, goes a bit deep. That's going to compromise his line to a degree as he extends through turn 9 and now into 10 as he powers his way for the sweeping right-hander. Now going up towards what will be Abbey corner, going in towards turn number 11 shortly, brings the guy over to the right-hand side and braking at about 100 metres from corner apex down to 3rd gear, through the left and now into the right here, but notice back on the throttle immediately, found the curve slightly and going down under bridge now as he goes into the right-hander. Here it's all about just balancing the throttle in 4th gear as he brings the car uphill onto the brakes here, going into Priory corner. A long corner this one, a deceptively long corner, and that late apex never coming in, it does. Now onto the brakes down to 2nd gear as he turns in a little bit prematurely there, does Greaveson, but coming out of Brooklands into Luffield, from 3rd back down to 2nd, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, start to feed the throttle in little by little, and now full throttle as he charges out the corner and on towards Woodcock, flat out through here in order to complete the lap, and well, a smooth lap there for Adam Greaveson. A couple of little twitches, but I think those twitches will go away over over time as he crosses the timeline there at 51.803. A nice lap there to really set off what will be his banker lap in this qualifying session. Indeed, right now 1.3 seconds off the overall pole time, and what a sizable is 1.2 seconds off of Matt Strand's silver provisional pole time there. But Kory Lazarus setting the highest time so far at 50.433, and well, Lazarus definitely going all in. As meanwhile, speaking of going all in, we need to put some effort in going all in saying hello to a good number of you in the respective chats. We could see there Medmo or Matt Edwardson in the Twitch chat there, and also I do see there Divide Roll, who is a best Silverstone layout this one, and well, I'd have to agree with you there, Divide Roll. I do believe that is Sean Cranny Swash in the Twitch chat, and of course Sean, a decorated UKSimRacing Porsche Cup driver. This circuit I think is always going to hold a special memory for him for the simple reason this was the site last season where we got to see him take his first 2 wins and his only 2 wins in the silver class of the season, and it was back-to-back wins in the heat and feature compilation here at the 2008 Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit. And what a day that was, completely unexpected, and we went to show that the 24-hour punty people drive from Canada absolutely able to deliver on the premier stage, no doubt about it. But as I drive make the way up through, well, he says he got lucky there. A bit of luck always goes hand in hand, but also you did it the hard way, Sean. I'm not going to jest about that one, and indeed all my drives here right now, we're hoping a little bit of lady luck is on their side as Greason makes his way up and through the hill there in towards Priory Corner. But drivers who are yet to get their laps on the board include here none other than Emil Koopmans. He makes his way through the right-hander, and the Effect Simulations driver still going for what is his first win overall and in the gold class of this season. Indeed, his whole UKSimRacing Porsche Cup career, he's come close to podiums multiple times, and he has made it onto the podiums a couple of times, and he's been close to winning 3 times, but he's never quite pulled it off. And Imola was another senior lap last time out, and well, can he finally find it today as we see those lap times continue to improve, now down to the 49s, with Kory Lazarus setting a new pole lap of 49.372, 2.5 tenths faster than Philipp Hammer, and there's James Parker in P3, and that is quite interesting at the moment there with regards to James Parker, in the fact we have been wondering with regards to Parker where he's been able to find the pace in the car. Remember, multi-time champion in the gold class, even up before when the gold class existed, back when it was just an overall championship, as he roars his way in towards Stowe Corner. But Parker has been off the pace for a good portion of the season, but he does seem to be finding a little bit more pace in the car now as he makes his way on through there, and perhaps it's just taking him some time, but still also level of competition for the 120 driver has continued to rise, there's no doubt about it. And that's the thing with this series, from season to season the competition only goes higher and higher, and therefore you've got to be on your A game every race of the day if you want to come home with a podium, let alone a win. He makes his way out to turn number 10. They use all the runoff area he dares to dream to do so in order to open up the corner, albeit having to be careful not to run too wide, as otherwise picking up an off track. And all the drivers right now looking to explore those limits, in just how hard they can push the car as they make the way on through. But meanwhile, he makes his way on round. Luke Andrews here, currently P4, 8 tenths off the pole from Kory Lazarus, but Andrews right now for Cube controls with part of course, finding a bit more time as they make the way on through Woodcock Corner. And we're going up towards the timeline here on to the brakes to turn number 1 into Cops Corner. Many of you are there remembering in the Twitch chat, Medway in particular, back in the early days of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, we weren't running the Porsche 992 911 Cup car that you're seeing nowadays. We were running the older, what was 991 911 Cup car there, which was, some would argue, a harder car to control. This 992 has been tamed down a little bit, albeit about the same power output from the flat 6 engine of 510 horsepower, but many enjoy the 992 for the fact it's a car that doesn't want to be as aggressive on that rear end, particularly on the low to medium speed corners when you try and get the power down. But with a much more stable car, of course, that makes it harder to find the ultimate lap time out there, because everyone's in a comfortable car, everyone's going to be pushing it even more to the maximum limit. Although these cars, I should point out, ladies and gentlemen, are not easy to drive. Our drivers make it look easy, but I can tell you one thing, even in the silver class there, the fact they're pushing it so hard, they are running it on the ragged edge of adhesion from lap to lap. And we're speaking of drivers right now who are on a bit of an edge here. We look to Joel Duton, one of the 2 drivers yet to get a lap time on the board. Steve Hobbs, the other driver there, and well, the wrong stuff driver right now, still looking for a bit of time, goes a bit deep there. So we've got a driver running wide, going on through what was Priory Corner, going into Brooklands, and we're not quite sure who that was, but he definitely got it wrong. I think that was Cameron Smith, in fact, taking a bit of an adventure in the rear of the picture. And well, as Duton makes his way on to a lap, well, in fact it's an out lap, and it's going to be an aborted lap. He comes in again, he's not too happy with the setup of the car, and Cameron Smith follows in with him, so I think there Smith might have cooked the tyres to a degree. But as Duton makes his way on down, meanwhile Stephen Hobbs coming on through into the last couple of quarters here. As he does so, And can he find a little bit more time, or can he find a time to put on the board as he goes into left field corner here? It's looking good so far. And in fact, he's gone purple in what is the first subsector, so that'll be the run out of Cops in towards Maggots. That'll be in the silver class. He's gone purple as he heads to the timeline here. What's it going to be for Hobbs? He crosses the line. Is it a valid lap? And well, we see he moves up to P13. It's a 51.216. It's not a bad lap. It puts him P3 in silver class. Matt Strand currently holds the provisional pole in P10, and the gap between the two drivers there forming into 7/10 right now. So still, Hobbs has got to find a bit more time. In fact, my eyes do deceive me. He's second in the silver class there, not third. In fact, now he's third as Glenn Humberstone decides to make what we said earlier correct on a 51.112 there. Oh, goodness, been losing the rear end of the car. That's going to be pointing in the wrong direction, but he's going to get it stopped before it goes to the barrier using the runoff area there, which is one thing you can count on at Silverstone, even in the 2008 lap, is that you've got a bit of runoff space to work with, albeit you've also got some rather temperamental grass there, which if you end up on that, the car will slide to the tyre barrier or alternatively to the walls, and as Humberstone brings it back together, well, he'll be grateful for the fact he put in a second place lap for P13 overall, 2 seconds off the overall pole time, and bring it down to half a second from Matt Strand's pole time. And we'll speaking of Matt Strand as he makes his way on out there of turn at number 10 and heading up towards Abbey Corner at turn number 11 now. In towards left-hand he goes, and right now the Racing Lab eSports driver from Norway absolutely going all in this qualifying session. And that's the thing about Strand as well, when he has found himself on top of things in qualifying, he really has been able to put quite a gap between himself and his rivals, normally 2 to 3 tenths, but right now looking at a whole half a second as he makes his way on through the left-hander. And in fact, this deciding to go a bit deep there, and I think this might be setting up a new lap. In fact, he's gone purple in subsector 2, he's gone personal best in subsector 3, so Strand's got more time out there to try and give, but how much more time is the big question. As he makes his way on through Stoke, well, not through Stoke corner, through Luffield corner, and up towards Woodcote into the pits. Behind him goes Joel Douton, and Douton again into the pits as they make the way on through and charge his way up towards the timeline. Right now, what can Strand do as he goes on to another lap? Well, we'll have to wait and see. As he comes on through the right and in towards the left they go, and well, as he does so right now, it does look as though Strand here in control of this qualifying session in the silver class. Although saying that, a new lap just come through for Hobbs, and that is quite the lap there. In fact, that is a 50.33, so we're wondering what else was out there for Hobbs, and well, he's demonstrated in the fact that Strand's now got to react 2 tenths, in fact 2.5 tenths from Hobbs to Strand there, P8 to P11, so the Briton leaving it a bit later in this qualifying session, but the track does seem to be evolving in the favour of our drivers right now in terms of those lap times continue to come on down. And we're speaking of lap times and the weather, let's show it on the right hand side of the screen, and we see that track temperature has come up to 23 degrees centigrade. It's come up a degree, and so has the ambient temperature here. The model conditions are around just after midday on March the 1st 2024, and as our drivers continue to push on through here, well, right now Hobbs, I think, feeling very confident. This qualifying session is moving more and more in his favour. But meanwhile, speaking of drivers who are feeling confident, here he comes across the line. It's Kory Lazarus. He's gone purple in the second half of the lap. As he crosses the timeline, he was 2.5 tenths down on Cope's visual pole lap, but Lazarus now retakes pole on a 49.048, and that is only what is half a tenth off of going into the 48.9s here. Thomas Cope 600ths behind. Can Lazarus or Cope be the ones to break into what will be the 48s? Well, if so, that would be absolutely incredible, there's no question about it. Meanwhile, on an outlap here, and the only driver from Impulse Racing, so Vehlgut, not on the grid or in attendance here at Silverstone, and we look forward to seeing him back on the grid after our season break at the Nürburgring in 2 weeks' time. I can see right now Hammer still looking to find 5.5 tenths in order to try and get the car on pole as he makes his way on down the hanger straight. But from him, we look to Matt Strand, who's gone purple in the first sector in the silver class. As he crosses the line, can Strand dethrone Hobbs? He can. He goes up to P7 to Strand at a 50.099. These lap times are going faster and faster here, and well, wasn't he maybe a whole second off a Lazarus provisional pole overall time? Strand right now starting to embed himself inside that top 10. He's got, where's the best part of a 10th over Emil Koopmans, and then Steve Hobbs a further, what is 10th behind there. So right now it seems though Strand and Hobbs are taking 2 tenths over the top of each other each and every time, as we see a wayward car there. I think that being in the form of what was Cameron Smith. But meanwhile, as we look to Paul Halliday, the no pointers driver, right now things not going the way that Halliday will want them to go. He's down in always P19 or P8 in the silver class. And in fact, we show you those the class stands on the left hand side of the screen so that we can see how the classes will line up respective to their individual drivers rather than the overall grid. But as he makes his way in towards Cop's corner right now, Halliday, I think, trying to find a bit more time out there, and Steve Hobbs leaves the pit lane on the right hand side of him as they make the way down towards Maggots into Beckett. And as they do so here, well, right now Halliday 9, there's got to be some more time in order to get himself up the order, given the fact he is only only what is 100th of the Western's time P18, and then he does have a sizable 4 attempts to Adam Greaveson. And it's interesting to see how we do have what is the top 6 of the silver class. They're separated by rather varying distances. The Strand and Hobbs of the class, their own arguably, separated by 2 attempts. It's then almost what is 8.5, in fact 7.5 attempts down to Glenn Humberstone in P14. But from Humberstone through to what is Greaveson there, it is only 3.5 attempts. So right now, Hatcher, Smith, Greaveson, they could all improve slightly and they could leapfrog their way into this silver field and move themselves into 3rd place in the silver class potentially with 5 minutes left in this qualifying session. So it really is quite close in that silver class, and the same in the gold class as well, barring Lazarus and Cope, who have started to push the threshold a bit further away from the field. From Sedgley through to Andrews, it's only 4 attempts, and Sedgley and Parker are separated by less than 300 in the battle for P3 on this grid. Well, it's very close, and indeed Parker finding his form, and I think a critical time as well. But speaking of Daniel Sedgley, we look to him now as he makes his way on around. And as he comes on through turn at number 10 there, riding the curve and leading the way ahead of teammate for Olympus eSport of Thomas Cope. Well, I think they're both trying to work together and give each other the toe here as they make the way on around, and that wouldn't surprise me given the fact a little bit of slipstream can go quite nicely here at the Silverstone circuit with the extended run down the hanger straight, and obviously you do have the run the start finish straight to contend with. But I wonder how beneficial that toe is going to be in some of the more technical sections where you do end up losing that front end downforce, and as a result the dirty air can cause the car to want to understeer and its behaviour to become a bit unnatural, particularly in the run through Bridge into Priory and then Brooklands into Luffield as we're seeing here. So I think there's a distant toe being gifted here from what is Sedgley to Cope in order just to aid Cope down the straights, but beyond that they won't want to be in the toe of each other too much for the simple reason they may end up costing each other time rather than benefiting from it. As he makes his way on through, we jump on board with Daniel Sedgley for a flying lap on the Silverstone circuit. So he makes his way in towards turn at number 1 here, braking as late as he dares. 100 meters from corner apex, full gear, absolutely pinpoint precise as he makes his way out to Cox and now in towards Baggett's and Beckett's. As he goes onto the billboard, brings the car gradually over there, lifting off the throttle slightly to settle the car, coming down the 4th gear, and now winding his way into turn number 4 down to 3rd, keeps going to the left before opening up Beckett's corner. 3rd gear he holds as he powers his way on out there and makes his way on through it. Very smoothly done as he makes his way down the hanger straight. Car in front there a distance, putting off the racing line. I think Sedgley backing off here. I think deciding to let things go. In fact, aiding Thomas Cope. They're giving the toe to his teammate, and I think that was the whole plan between them all along, albeit Cope slightly compromised there by Matt Acton, who was on the racing line going into what would have been Stowe corner. But I think Acton won't be told off for that or indeed given a penalty for the simple reason that it was too late, I think, for him to be able to react to Cope in the end, albeit it moves aside now with 3 minutes left on the clock. That may have just compromised Olympus eSport slightly as they make the way on through turns 9 and 10 through that long right-hand complex where you really do need to keep nice and tight to the apex curve all the way through. And as they make the way up towards Abbey, we say hello in the Twitch chat there to Connor DM Craven. Are you doing well, Connor? Great to see you tuning in. And while the drivers coming around, well, meanwhile, in terms of changes in positions at the moment, still visual pole in the golden overall category for Kory Lazarus. Meanwhile, in the silver class, it's still a P7 overall, but silver pole holding with Matt Strand at the moment. But can anybody find the last-ditch bits of time as meanwhile Ian Halliday tries to improve as he goes all the way through there what is Luffield corner as he comes through the long right-hander and makes his way on around. Comes into one full. Good as well. He's coming to the pits then. That was power oversteer coming out the corner. Keeps it nice and tight. They're going through Woodcock, but that's going to cost them a bit of time. Heads across the timeline currently P22. Does he improve? It does not look as though he does improve then. Halliday will have one more lap in order to try and improve. But speaking of laps to improve, Philipp Hammer right now across the timeline goes P4, then a 49.408. But I think you would have been hoping for more as Adam Greaveson moves up to P12 off camera on a 50.612. So all the drivers still plumbing in the times here, and Greaveson just trying to find a bit more as he now holds P3 in the silver class and has detached himself from Glenn Humberstone's P15 to the P12 of Greaveson. But elsewhere, James Parker out there at the moment, and he will be on his penultimate lap. Keeping in mind, of course, when the clock strikes 20 minutes, our drivers are allowed to finish their current lap. They have got overtime rules in effect as he makes his way out of Luffield there. Will Parker going absolutely deep, extending the run to the timeline, trying to get every mile an hour as he makes his way into Cops corner. And as he heads into the breakings over turn at number 1, here he goes on a mission to try and move himself back onto the second row of the grid as a minimum. He's only got to find 1,000th to do so ahead of Philipp Hammer, but also Hammer is out there on one final lap. And as he makes his way on down into Maggots, into Beckett's here, Well, Parker won't be aware of where Hammer is on the circuit, but what he will be aware of is the fact this is his final lap of the session, and he's got to get the job done now, and if he doesn't, then it's not going to be forthcoming until they go racing. But on and out lap is Craig Shields, plus is Sean Dobers. We see a car parked up there, and well, as he makes swam down the straight, with a number of drivers deciding to come into the pits. Ryan Walker in the pits, Emil Koopmans in the pits, so is Matt Acton. We've also got Lee Holmes, Emil Fritsch, and what was it? Not Emil Fritsch, my apologies, Marcel Fritsch, and Emil Koopmans just above him there. But as our drivers make the way through, well, there is a slow run, that's backing off. Forward is James Parker, as meanwhile Luke Andrews at P6 and a 49.711 improves his time, but it doesn't improve his position. So does Paul Halliday, stays P18 on 51.590. Owen Halliday out there. What about Thomas Coe? Meanwhile, as getting it wrong is Owen Halliday out the final corner. That's not going to stop Coe as he makes his way on through. What will be the last corner? But can he dethrone Lazarus as he crosses the timeline? Well, as he does, what's it going to be for Cope? It's not enough, nor is it enough for Daniel Sedgley to improve. Philipp Hammer crosses the line. Does he improve from P4? No, he doesn't. And Kory Lazarus right now, I think he's going to take this pole position, his first pole position of the season, on a 49.048. And could this be the day that Lazarus is able to shine above them all? We'll have to wait and see, as we have got a couple of drivers right now out there on laps, including James Parker, albeit he's on a cool-down lap after aborting the lap coming out of what a Stowe corner. I think the only driver who is on a valid lap at the moment is this man, and last week's double winner in the silver class, Glenn Humberstone, as he makes his way on through what is there, the run into Bridge, and up towards Priory goes. But it is confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, Kory Lazarus will be your overall pole sitter and in the gold class. Head of Thomas Cope will join him on that front row, Daniel Sedgley and Philipp Hammer behind. But can Glenn Humberstone find a bit more time here to try and get a bit closer to Greaveson, given the fact that right now the gap to Greaveson is half a second, as he winds his way on through Brooklands into Lovefield. I don't think this is going to be improved. He's down in the first four subsectors. As he comes out the final corner, he's going to commit to his lap and see if he can do enough on the final run in order to improve slightly. Even if he gets ahead of Lee Holmes in P14, that'll be an improvement. For Glenn Humberstone, he crosses the timeline, and it's not enough in the end. He stays P15. Well, that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. It is Kory Lazarus on golden overall pole, and then P7 overall is your silver pole sitter of Matt Strand. And well, a back and forth qualifying session between him and this man, Stephen Hobbs. But in the end, Strand found a way to stay one step ahead of the Fusion Racing driver, and Hobbs will have the company of his teammate Adam Greaveson only what is 2 places behind. And Fusion Racing have definitely had a good qualifying session and will be able to take the fight to the top 10 in both what will be the silver class and also the team's championship. But now as our drivers wind on down, indeed they're on cool down laps into the pits. The only driver not set lap, Joe Dutton there, will be starting P24, but otherwise all the drivers set a lap, and Owen Halliday taking P22 just ahead of Guy Kylie, with the 2 drivers being quite close in their times. But as Lazarus makes his way into the pits, well, right now I think the grin on his face is definitely going to be growing, and it's good to see the New Zealander there taking what has been for some time a long-awaited pole position. In fact, I think it may actually be his first ever UKSimRacing Porsche Cup overall pole position from a qualifying session. He's had a number of reverse grid poles, but I don't recollect him ever taking an overall pole position in qualifying. So it's a great way to start off the day. And as Paul Halliday makes his way on out of turn number 10, he'll know this qualifying session hasn't gone the way he's wanted it to, and he's definitely now going to need to try and find some magic in the race if he wants to carry on that chase after Matt Strand, because it's looking more and more as though the battle's now going to be for P2. But we'll have to wait and see as our drivers leave the circuit from qualifying. And now we do have, there's a 5-minute warm-up here before we do go racing. Well, as our drivers get themselves set, and indeed they have the opportunity to put the right setup on the car and also take a quick comfort break if needed, we'd just like to take the moment to say, ladies and gentlemen, that if you have been enjoying the broadcast this season, and indeed if you've been tuning in from the start or you're new today, well, the first thing we do recommend is that if you want to stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts here at UKSimRacing, you definitely want to subscribe to us on Twitch, alternatively on YouTube, and that way you can stay up to date with the weekly Porsche Cup broadcast on Thursdays and the GT3 League broadcast on Sundays. But we'd also like to say, if you'd like to support UKSimRacing a little bit more beyond subscribing to our media channels, well, did you know there is a way to do so via our affiliates? For UKSimRacing is affiliated with multiple sim racing and real-world motorsport companies, which do include Meta Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere, and Dealing Tweets. And if you head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, and that website appearing on screen now, we will notice in the top right corner of the screen there is a link to our Discord, and if you click on that, you'll be able to join the official UKSimRacing Discord, and that will be beneficial for 2 reasons. Firstly, if you ever want to be on the grid for any of our series, including the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, or alternatively, you ever want to take part in one of our one-off events that we host over the course of each and every year, it's a mandatory requirement for you to be a member of the UKSimRacing Discord, so that way you can stay up to date with the latest race event information and also attend the pre-race driver briefings. But perhaps more relevant to today, and indeed to our affiliates, is the fact that a number of our affiliates provide discount codes which are only available on the official UKSimRacing Discord. And if you use one of those codes as part of your purchase, well, it means it's a win for you because you're in pole position to receive a discount and you save a little bit of money as a result. But it's also a win for the wider UKSimRacing community because, simply put, we are a non-profit organisation, and every kickback, every penny and pound we get from your purchase using an affiliate discount code, well, we will put that into funding future series, including future editions of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, the GT3 League, and plenty more we have planned for 2024. So do remember, a little purchase can go a long way in supporting UKSimRacing, but right now what is definitely going to go a long way after a strong qualifying lap will be a good race start, and Lee Holmes will know all about that. Not quite qualifying on the front two rows of the grid, but the 88 Tech race has proven to be a very deft starter in the Porsche 992 machine over the course of his UKSimRacing career, and can he have another one of those brilliant race starts and move his way up the order multiple places come the end of the first lap? Well, that'll be his target, no doubt about it, as he makes his way on around and continue to warm up here. And indeed, so you may be wondering, why do our drivers sometimes go out there for the full 5 minutes of the warm-up session, in terms of that they may load the race setup and immediately just keep putting in the laps? Well, simply put, it's to try and get yourself into that mental rhythm. Some drivers prefer to walk away and just simply meditate, or alternatively take their focus away from the car for a brief moment, whereas others want to constantly be out there and just have their focus on the car, on the lap, dialing things in and making sure they don't lose that focus. It's different strokes for different folks, as they say. But as James Parker makes his way down the hangar straight here, a circuit such as Silverstone, with a good number of the corners being muscle memory based, with no notable brake markers, and in fact Stowe Corner being one of those which doesn't really have a clear brake marker other than the turning sign, which you'll see on the left hand side as you make your way up. Therefore, you've really got to do it based on where you remember to brake, and that means for our drivers here, they want to get that rhythm and indeed that muscle memory all locked and clocked in, and that enables you to put in those absolutely fantastic laps over the course of the race distance. And also we have to keep in mind here, with the circuit being quite a lot of load on the left-hand side tyres, this definitely could be a round of racing whereby there'll be a gamble between taking tyres and not taking tyres when our drivers do make their pit stops for fuel. And indeed, keep in mind, of course, the pit time for the tyre change is absolutely exacerbating the fact fuel has to go into the car first, and then they can change the tyres on the car, if my memory serves me correctly. So anyone who does decide to change some tyres on the car, well, it is going to prove costly, but will it be a benefit in the long term if they're able to put in the lap times and indeed keep putting those lap times together towards the end of the race, whereas their rivals might be falling off the metaphorical cliff? Well, we'll have to see, as James Parker and what is Owen Halliday, they have a little bit of moment coming on through what is at Luffield Corner, with Halliday going a bit slowly on the outside and Parker taking the tight line. There'll also be a bit of practice there for Parker, dealing with a driver who's gone a bit deep at Luffield Corner and needing to follow them into Copse Corner, and that dirty area of the front of the car really does upset the aero balance of these Porsches. Keeping in mind, of course, they have very little aero on them by default. They have the very large rear wing on them, but beyond that, no major aerodynamic refinements bar the basic out-the-box aerodynamics on the Porsche 992, and also quite a bit of weight reduction on the car, of course, with all the internalised seats being removed, other than that for the driver, and also some other changes with regards to roll cages and roll bars. But the drivers make the way on around here by only 30 seconds away from going to the grid. Sean Dobie there deciding to park up for clicks with 88 Tech Racing. I think practicing his race start, a number of drivers doing that on the pit lane exit, trying to get a little bit of practice in terms of launching the car. They won't want to stall it on the grid or indeed find a box of neutrals, and as he makes his way in towards turns 2 and 3, well, Sean Dobie, like many now, will be itching for the race. Indeed, the clock strikes 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means. It's time for our drivers to head to the grid, because round number 9 of 13 is coming up for the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 9 very shortly. And as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they'll line up for our endurance race today. It is Kory Lazarus who takes his first ever UKSimRacing Porsche Cup pole position for Blackout OPR, ahead of Thomas Cope for Olympus Esports. Behind him on row number 2 is Daniel Sedgley for Olympus Esports and Impulse Racing's Philipp Hammer, with James Parker lined up in P5 ahead of Cube Controls Repasso Courses Luke Andrews P6. Matt Strand takes your silver pole position for the Racing Lab Esports Team P7, ahead of Ryan Walker for Satellite Racing, and then your top 10 is completed by Emil Koopmans for Effect Simulations and Stephen J. Hobbs for Fusion Racing, who lines up P2 in silver class. Marcel Fritsch starts P11 for WS Racing Esports, ahead of Adam Greason for Fusion Racing on his debut for this season. Then we see on row number 7 Matt Acton for the Sim Racing Collective and Lee Holmes at 88 Tech Racing. Glenn Humberstone starts P15 for 88 Tech Racing, ahead of fellow silver driver and sister team driver for the Cyan outfit of Alistair Hatcher. With then what will be Cameron Smith starting P17 ahead of Paul Halliday for the Null Pointers, and it's Daniel Weston at Project 88 P19 ahead of Craig Schill. But we have to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because the grid is set, the lights are going on already. It's a quick start. It's 1 red light, it's 2 red lights, 3, 4, 5. And it's lights out and away we go for one and only race aim. Kory Lazarus gets a good start, but Thomas Cope gets a better one off the line. It's a drag race up towards turn number 1, but Lazarus has the inside here as he defends hard into Cope's corner. They roar him through. Cope goes around the outside. Can he get it done now as they drop off the curb? And as they do, well, cold tyres and cold brakes here. Cope goes straight on the car, not wanting to turn in and backing out, and Lazarus reholds the lead as meanwhile Daniel Sedgley battles side by side with Philipp Hammer into Maggers. And as they come on through here side by side, they go, and Hammer absolutely attacking, but Sedgley giving him everything in return as they make the way into Beckett. And as they come on through the long right hander, meanwhile Overdrive's now starting to go 2 by 2 as they roar the way on through. And on to the hanger straight they go, and Emil Koopmans here already on the offensive versus Luke Andrews. The match strand has gained 1 place overall up to P6. The silver leader now ahead of Koopmans and Andrews. They make the way on down the straight and in towards the braking zone. Koopmans on the inside here going for a nice early move, and as the 911 driver makes it count with the door number plus in the car, and as he comes through the right hand and now down the hill, he's feeling confident. But meanwhile Cope on the inside here as they make the way into the left hander of Vale, and as they do, Lazarus losing the place to Thomas Cope as they make the way on through the long right turns 9 and 10, and will Cope takes the lead. He couldn't quite get into turn 1, but he's found the lead now as they come to the second half of the lap, and as they roar on through turn number 10, there's been an instant further back. There's been a big instant further back. There's been multiple tries involved. Marcel Fritsch involved in that, plus also I believe it was Alistair Hatcher. But we'll have to come back to that very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. We focus on the lead pack as they make the way on through Abbey and down into Bridge now, and as they come through the right hand and up the hill, everyone's starting to go line astern here as Luke Andrews a little bit further back puts the pressure on Ryan Walker, albeit Andrews has lost 3 places overall, 2 in gold class since the start of this race. The Q Controls are part of the course driver not having a happy race start, and therefore having to do things the hard way, it would seem, as they make the way through left into right. But as they come on through Brooklands into Luffield, meanwhile further behind Cameron Smith here with an incident that's caught up most of the silver class. It should be pointed out we've had a silver shuffle in the fact that Smith right now battling with Sean Doe before it's P8 in the silver class. Side by side they go, and in front that's Joel Dutton and Paul Halliday, and Dutton has started all the way from the back of the grid. He's already moved up to what is P16 as he battles side by side here. Is he going to be able to take on Halliday all the way through down to lap number 2? I think he will here as he holds the inside to Woodcourt, and Halliday goes wide and takes the grass, rejoins but loses the speed, and Joel Dutton, the Luxembourgish driver, being now passed around the outside by Paul Halliday. But has Halliday overcooked the corner? No, he hasn't. They give each other racing room. And this is absolutely thrilling racing between them. But as they make the way onwards towards Maggots, it's going to be 3 wide for a brief moment. And then Cameron Smith takes 1. Can he take 2? He's going to go for it as the Britain as he makes his way on around the outside. This is going to be fantastic. And he brave stuff here from the number 10 driver. And as he goes into Beckett's, and Cameron Smith dares to dream as he makes his way out the corner. And onto the hanger straight he goes. And Cameron Smith there will have a bow, ladies and gentlemen, in the fact that the number 10 driver there making it a 2-way pass, going from Maggots into Beckett's and holding nothing back. He's up into P6 in the silver class without having reached them 3.3 seconds up the road. But as they make the way on through Stowe corner right now, you can see that Joel Dutton going slightly deep. That's going to open up the opportunity for Halliday as they make the way down into the Val chicane. Albeit it looks like Dutton defending on the inside here, and Halliday's not going to have the cut back. He goes a bit deep alongside Dutton. So Dutton anticipates it well, and as they come on through turns 9 and 10, Smith can just start to sort of drop into the distance here and hope the move's worked out. And Smith, oh goodness me, and that has gone very wrong for Paul Halliday. He's lost the rear of the car coming out of turn number 10. The seas part around him, and no pointers driver. His day's going from good to bad, but it's not quite gone to worse yet. But we'll have to wait and see what happens as Owen Halliday in the pit lane with damage to the car. He's leaving the pits at the moment, and meanwhile, whilst all this is going on, oh goodness me, and Joel Dutton has just got it wrong coming out towards turns 11 and 12. Car in the barrier there. He gets it back together for the wrong stuff. It looks like the car's creeping forward. Is it wounded? And I think, yes, I think it's had contact with the wall. I think the suspension has got at the rear, and Dutton will be coming into the pits most likely at the end of this lap. But meanwhile, after what is at 2 laps of race, we're on to lap number 3. And here's a recap of your top 10. It's Thomas Cope leads over on the gold class by 1 second over Kory Lazarus. Philipp Hammer sits P3 ahead of Daniel Sedgley P4, followed by James Parker P5. You then have your silver leader, Matt Strand, in P6 overall. And the Race Lab Esports driver has behind him Emil Koopmans, Ryan Walker and Luke Andrews, 3 gold drivers before you get to the completion of your top 10, because in P10 you have your second place silver driver, Stephen Hobbs, and then Lee Holmes is P11 at best the rest. But as they make the way on through and down onto the hanger straight once again, we'll Strand right now after a brilliant start. He's feeling some pressure building on him. As mean, we do refresh our overlay to get our circuit map back in the top right corner of your screen. He always has a habit of sneaking off every so often, and as the drivers make the way on around in towards what will be at Stowe Corner once again, we'll Strand it right now, just keeping his head down and focusing on the racing. But meanwhile, I think one driver who's not going to have that leisure will be Kory Lazarus here. As you can see, Philipp Hammer and Daniel Sedgley getting very close, albeit many of you commenting in the Twitch chat about the fact that Kory Lazarus does a very good job of managing his tyres. Indeed, in these endurance races, it's where he really comes into a class of his own in terms of how long he can make those tyres tyres work, and will he be able to keep ahead of his rivals long enough to make them feel the pain of their tyre life and then be able to close down Cope? That will be the dream as he makes his way through turns 11 and 12 and now down to Bridge. But as he does so, we say hello in the YouTube chat to Craig Tillotson, who's cheering on the Fusion Racing drivers, and in particular his fellow teammates of Stephen Hobbs, and also what is Adam Greason of running P2 and P4 in the silver class currently. But as we continue to look here at the battle of P2 in the gold class, we'll Sedgley Hammer getting very close as we ride on board the nose cone of what is the Olympus Esports car of Sedgley in the 29, taking a bit of a V-shaped approach there on the run on through Luffield and trying to go for a different approach in order to give himself a bit more attacking potency, going through Woodcote and out towards Copscore as he makes his way past the bollards, and as I head in towards turn number 1 on to the brakes, they get ready to go. Albeit here, Sedgley knowing in a 3-car line, the car at the back with the dirty of the 2 cars in front is always going to need to brake a bit earlier compared to his rivals, just in order to offset the overspeed, plus also the dirty in Scott's corner does so absolutely brilliantly indeed. The muscle memory absolutely clocked in there for Sedgley and the Olympus Esports drivers. He makes his way through turns 4 and 5, but right now still looking for a chance to pounce on Hammer, but he won't want to fight too hard, because if he does so, that's going to release Lazarus, and therefore this three-way fight starts to dissolve into a two-way fight with the leader of the group just simply running away and trying to chase down Thomas Cope, and that's something that Sedgley will not want, in the fact that he'll put pressure onto his teammate. As they make the way in towards turn number 7 through the right hand they go once again. You can see Hammer going a little bit deeper this time, trying to settle that later apex, trying to get the better run, and Sedgley a bit more conservative to the apex. Different racing styles, and I think everyone now starting to move in the phase of protecting the tyres. But well, speaking of protecting things, well, as we see Luke Andrews making his way down behind Brian Walker, things were not so protected in terms of tyre life and car life on lap number 1, coming out to turn at number 9 here. And there was a major incident involving many a driver, including Marcel Fritz. But what exactly happened is the big question. Well, here's the replay, we can find out. So it was under braking here as Marcel Fritz battling with what was Matt Acton as they made the way through turns 8 and 9. A tap there between Acton and Fritz sends Fritz round, and then the car spinning back onto the path of the pack, and oh goodness me, and in the end the 8 Racing Cyan car being involved also there. I do believe that was Owen Halliday who was speared off into the wall, and well, for Halliday an absolute nightmare, and Alistair Hatcher was the 8 Racing Cyan car involved in that instant. We ride on board here from his perspective, and he'll come through turn, and I feel as though he's got the inside, and then the car in front of him, Marcel Fritz goes wayward, and Hatcher is just a passenger in the car. He's holding the brakes, but he can't exactly go anywhere as he tries to get the car turned. We gets it off the road, but already the damage has been done. But what about from Owen Halliday's perspective, I hear you ask? Well, we take a look by the exterior cameras here, and as he made his way through up the inside of his brother there, Paul Halliday, as he came through the corner, trying to take a base of action, and well, then trying to go a long way round at Glenn Humberstone, well, not Glenn Humberstone, going around Alistair Hatcher, and that's where it went wrong for Owen Halliday, who had made a lot of progress but had to be towed to the pits after that contact to the wall. As we return to your live racing pictures, that is the only major incident we have seen so far. Of course, we did see the spin of what was Paul Halliday and also George Ruton earlier on what was lap number 2. But otherwise, all the drivers keeping their heads down right now. No other major errors to report so far. And it's going to be a long race. It's going to be a race of attrition. And speaking of that attrition, Brian Walker under pressure as they go onto the brakes from what is Luke Andrews. And well, he's got Owen Halliday just in front there. Lap down is Halliday. So the blue flags will be waving, and Walker, I think, right now want Halliday to steer clear and simply get in the way of what will be Andrews behind as they make their way into the Vale. Too wide they go, and as they do, well, I think Halliday here not exactly knowing where else to put the car, and understandable, he's got to race at some point. So Walker going around the outside in the end, and Halliday just trying to stay on the inside of the corner and let his rivals go around the outside, trying to do it as safely as possible. As they make the way up towards turn at number 11, it's going to be a bit of frustration, I think, for Andrews, as instead he dives to the inside there and wanting to get a bit close to Walker. He's lost a bit of time to Walker, and the Scotsman able to breathe for a brief moment, and now Stephen Hobbs not too much farther behind as they make their way downhill and in towards Bridge Corner. As they do, and up the rise they go. You can understand from Halliday's perspective in terms of he doesn't exactly know where to put the car. Oh goodness me, it goes wrong there for Hobbs, and Halliday goes round as a result, as Hobbs in the end has to go deep in order to avoid the wayward Silver driver. That's going to cost Hobbs a lot of time, but meanwhile Daniel Weston pointing in the wrong direction. The Project 88 driver, and that has happened just going into Bridge Corner in the 107, and as he does so there, he brings it back together. Well, what exactly happened is the big question. He's lost 4 places from this mistake, and then Paul Halliday goes up the inside, and right now as Owen Halliday just sits there in the gravel waiting to rejoin. Well, if he can get the car out of the gravel, that is, and Paul Halliday does make his way on through, and you can see in the rear of the picture Owen Halliday does get the car recovered in the end. What exactly triggered that off for Daniel Weston? That's the big question, and here's the replay. So he made his way on through Abbey, through turn 11, absolutely fine, goes a bit high in the curve there at turn 12, and that kicks the rear of the car around. When the rear right tyre dropped off the curb, you can see that it caused the rear suspension to bounce, and that caused the car to become loose. no impact with the wall on the inside there, but very close to Daniel Wester. I think it's going to be a heart-in-mouth moment as we return to the live racing pictures here, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, we do look back towards the front of the field and still the ongoing besieging, if you will, of Kory Lazarus' P2 from Philipp Hammer and Daniel Sedgley, as right now New Zealand just keeping his head down and trying to avoid any potential risk of being overtaken. Albeit off camera, we have just had Sean Dobie have a long off track, and that has occurred in Maggots into Beckett, and that's dropped him all the way down to P22 from P19 from what I'm hearing. So we'll try and get a replay of that when we can. But Lazarus, Hammer and Sedgley still nose to tail as they weave their way on through Abbey Corner, and as they charge away in towards Bridge now, going up through the right hand here, and Lazarus in that compression. It's noticeable how Lazarus does seem to be a bit more comfortable with his medium speed corners. The high speed corners seems to be where things level out, and also on the straights Hammer and Sedgley have the toe. But Lazarus right now just seems to have a little bit of natural confidence here in his medium speed corners, and therefore is able to just extract a tenth or two. But things do equalise over the whole lap, and well, Medmo there making an observation in the Twitch chat, which is that Kory Lazarus is putting the clutch in order to save fuel. That's essentially where the drivers take the car out of gear for a brief moment in order to cause it to coast into a braking zone, and therefore just save some fuel in the longer term. And well, if that observation is correct, I'm sure it is, it will mean that Lazarus will be expecting a bit of a shorter pit stop by comparison when we do see those pit stops occur with these 30-litre fuel tanks, and that could give him an advantage in the later stages of this race. And many a driver will be trying to use the clutching method, alternative to the lift and coast method, in order to save as much fuel as possible around here and minimise that pit time, so it can be costly. But meanwhile, two drivers right now who won't be thinking about saving fuel. Indeed, they'll be looking to do that later. They're fighting for position. This is Lou Andrews versus Brian Walker for P8 overall as they make their way down the back straight. We look at those class stands on the left-hand side of your picture. And you can see here just how close it is between these two. 3 attempts is the gap as they make their way in towards Stowe. Once again, he's the right-hander. And Andrews there, a lot more rotation. You'll notice under braking now the car was already kicking loose. That would suggest that he's running either a much higher rear ride height compared to the front. Alternatively, that brake bias has been pushed even further rearward. But interesting enough, that we're going for a bit more stable setup. Meanwhile, Andrews opting to have plenty of rotation in the car and almost having to feed the throttle in to place the rear end of the car back down and settle it down. And therefore, it does in two different driving styles here. And Andrews right now, with being as close as he is, just not able to find a way to batter down the defence of the satellite racing driver as they make the way into left into right here of Abbey, but gets a much better launch out of turn 11. Andrews is going to get very close here. 2 tenths they make the way to the bridge, but can Andrews find a way to make the move happen into Priory? Well, the answer seems to be no. He goes very wide on entry there. Walker goes deep. This could be Andrews' opportunity. He's going to cut the inside here into Brooklands, but Walker's too far ahead. It's too short of a run, and as they come in towards the upfield corner, things are going to stay as they are, albeit Walker struggling. He goes deep again, but Andrews knows he can't poke his nose in there. It's too far away to do so, and as a result, Walker will stay ahead for now. But looking bummer boys, Ryan Walker, as they make the way onto lap number 8. As they charge their way on through the right-hander and up towards turn at number 1. We look back to the exterior picture there of our drivers, and as they come on towards what will be at turns 2, 3, 4 and 5, the Maggots into Beckett's complex, will Walker again having a slow run on through Cops Corner. I think right now starting to lose a bit of rhythm here. Andrew's so close, he's tantalisingly close there, but he's not going to dare to dream to make the move on through this corner sequence. He'll want to do it on down the hanger straight, and if he can get the better launch compared to Walker out of Maggots and then out of Beckett's, I should say, I think that will come to fruition with 2.5 tenths between the two of them. But it's noticeable as well in the fact that Andrews in the toe here, he's gaining very gradually. He's not gaining at the rate of knots perhaps he would like to, and I think that may suggest there's a bit more rear wing on Andrews' car compared to Walker's, and that may be the delta between the two of them as they make the way on through. But brilliant racing between the pair of drivers, and just in front Matt Strand, who's holding on to P6 overall, your silver leader, has got the pressure of gold driver Emil Koopman's right behind him, as Koopman's staying close as they make the way on through Val, and they're round through turn number 10, and again Koopman's taking a much tighter line through turn number 10 in order to offset the dirty air, but getting on the power there and running it out to the ragged edge of the limits in terms of just how wide he can go as they make their way into the braking zone here for Abbey Corner. But meanwhile, off camera, we have had an incident for Sean Dobie recently, a major incident involving him, and we take a look back as to what exactly happened in due course. Although I don't think we've got the replay just yet, as here comes Emil Koopmans up the inside of Strand, into left-hander they go, and as they do, well, it's going to be a relatively straightforward pass, and Strand not fighting it too hard, knowing his fight is not with the gold drive. He doesn't get any bonus points for beating gold drive. It's just pride at the end of the day. His most important focus is making sure he gets that win, and therefore will be able to push onwards in the Silver Class Championship. That's where all the points are scored, on class finishing position, not overall finishing position, as they make the way onwards towards the next lap. But clock strikes 15 minutes. We've still got 30 to go here, and plus the final lap as well. And meanwhile, we have got a replay of what exactly happened to Sean Dobie on lap number 7. Now for the clicks for 8-tip racing driver, this was going up into Stowe corner, we believe, making his way for the right-hander, and the rear of the car letting go there. And, well, I think perhaps just a little bit too much steering lock and that throttle application in harmony, and it caused the rear of the car to let go. An easy mistake to make, even for the very best of drivers. It shows you he's pushing it hard, but the Scotsman finally he's pushed it beyond the threshold there as we return to your live racing. But as they make the way on down the hangar straight, we look back to the battle for what is P7 overall. Matt Strand holding that position, the silver leader there with the 2 gold drives of Walker and what is Andrews behind. And we'll be interested to see how Walker tries to approach this, because ideally he would like to put Strand between himself and Andrews for at least a couple of corners to give himself some breathing room. But I think here it's going to be more of a question of when Andrews is ready to strike and whether Walker's going to be close enough to attack Strand before Andrews looks for it. Because again, look how close they are coming out the corner. Andrews right now absolutely glued, no more than 3 attempts typically as they make the way down. But Strand moving aside here, letting off the throttle and giving up the places, and was smart driving there for Matt Strand, knowing this is not his fight. The temptation may be there to battle with the gold drives, but given how long this race is going to be, not worth the hassle, no doubt about it, as they make the way on through what is Bridge Corner, and up the rise they go. And more the battle between Walker and Andrews carries on as they make the way onwards towards what will be Brooklands Corner. But from then we look back to your race leader Thomas Cope, and your overall leader right now 1.5 seconds clear as he makes his way through Woodcott and on towards another lap. But as he goes on to lap number 10, Kory Lazarus starting to bring that gap back down to a degree, albeit that previous lap Cope extending the lead by a 10th. But I think right now Cope has got the lead up to 1.5 seconds. He reckons that the gap is perhaps big enough, now focusing more and more on the fuel saving and the tyre management as well, and really just trying to manage that gap to a 1.5 second buffer, because that's where the tow starts to affect the car behind, albeit only insignificantly. It's really when you get within a second, that's when you start to feel the huge slipstream benefit as you make your way down the extended straight, such as the hangar straight. And Lazarus, of course, with the pressure of what is Hammer, Sedgley and Parker a little bit further behind, and therefore I think the blackout OPR driver looking more in his rearview mirrors as they make the way in towards Stowe rather than looking forward. But as they do and making their way into the braking zone, James Parker still within earshot and eye shot of what will be that top 4 right now, and running a good race so far. The strongest race we've seen from him to date this season in terms of the pace and qualifying being transitioned into the race. We know he's a very strong, consistent driver, there's no doubt about it. He's a 2-time champion for a reason, but right now the 120 driver really starting to find his form once again since his return to the grid in season 9. And he makes his way through the right hand, and meanwhile into the pit stop. I my commentary booth window is the wrong stuff. George Tom, whose race definitely taking a turn for what is strategy now over the racing on circuit, and I think this might be what is an expected pit stop given the fact he has spent 13 seconds stationary, and that'll be the sign of some fuel going in to the car. And well, as Dutton makes his way out of the pit lane, he will almost be a lap down on the field. But meanwhile, we have had a bit of a change of position between Adam Greaveson and Cameron Smith, and I believe that was coming as a result of an off track for Cameron Smith in the run through Vale. But how exactly did it occur? Let's find out. This was heading down towards the Vale chicane, then going in towards turns 8 and 9 onto the brakes. Cameron Smith went, oh goodness me, and the car snatching to the right there under braking, and Smith being led onto the runoff area, the Santander runoff area, and in there rejoining. That will be a major slowdown penalty he's had to serve. But Smith there, I can imagine, the only thing I can imagine is either the brakes locked up on the front right, and that pulled the car right, but alternatively, the front right tyre briefly touched the grass, and that caused the car to be sent to the right, but not a common error there for Cameron Smith, and indeed what could have been a very nasty one. But meanwhile, as we return to your live pitch, we do have one is a number of your leaders, Thomas Cope, James Parker and Luke Andrews, Ryan Walker, Emil Cummins and Matt Strand all into the pits. Cope, of course, race leader, makes his way on out. Meanwhile, Kory Lazarus, Philipp Hammer and Daniel Sedgley have gone on for one more lap. They've been able to find what is an 11th lap of fuel on the opening fuel tank. And well, that could be quite revealing on the strategy here, because Cope right now know this outlap effect. He has to be a qualifying lap in all but name as he makes his way on through. Meanwhile, further back, James Parker makes his way on down. And as he does so, Will Parker losing out there. In fact, going quite slowly as we do see Ryan Walker, also Luke Andrews coming on through, and James Parker having a slow pit stop, and as a result losing multiple places. So I wonder if there was some sort of slowdown accumulated on top of his pit stop, in the fact that Parker has dropped behind. He was going very nicely behind Thomas Coe in terms of where they went pit strategy, but Emil Koopmans, Ryan Walker and Luke Andrews have all jumped ahead. And speaking of jump heads, with Emil Koopmans having moved ahead of Ryan Walker and Luke Andrews earlier on, in fact he's now been brought back into the clutch of his rivals with one of the longer pit stops. But James Parker's stop the longest of them all, in the fact it was 12.77 seconds versus the 12.18 of Luke Andrews, the 11.62 of Ryan Walker, and Koopman's 12.48 there. So Walker having a very fast stop, not quite able to jump ahead of what Emil Koopman's been able to close the delta, and more importantly, he has been able to retain his position over Luke Andrews there as they make the way on road, and as they head in towards what will be turns 11 and 12. Meanwhile, in the pits comes Kory Lazarus. What is your second place driver from when the pit stop started? But your bolsters from today have done quite a bit of fuel saving out there, but Philipp Hammer and Daniel Sedgley have lightly been saving fuel behind, so this is going to be a very revealing pit stop. Will we see a shuffle of these three? Will we see Thomas Cope still ahead of them all when he comes on through? Because right now Thomas Cope making his way, as we look to the blimp camera here, out of what is turn number 60 into Woodcock Corner, and as he comes on around looking back down to the lower distance cameras here, well, he makes his way up towards turn number 1, and as he does so, we're coming on through. Kory Lazarus has left the pits ahead of his rivals, so it is still going to be Cope who leads, however, as he makes his way on through, but Lazarus is much closer, much closer this time as they make the way into Maggots into Beckett, and look at that, Lazarus' pit stop brings him right back in contention, 6.5 tenths off of Cope. Meanwhile, Philipp Hammer's come out ahead of Daniel Sedgley, but the gap between Lazarus and Hammer is now 1.3 seconds. Daniel Sedgley a further 7 tenths behind, when it seems as though, even though they had the opportunity to fuel save, a bit more fuel's gone in the car for both Hammer and Sedgley. Meanwhile, Lazarus has taken a bit less fuel, and as they make the way up towards what will be turn number 7 here, one thing I can imagine is that with Kory Lazarus having a much shorter pit stop compared to his rivals, even though perhaps didn't have as many fuel saving opportunities, bar putting the clutch in as the usual techniques, could he potentially have been working on the idea that if he comes out close enough behind Thomas Cope, he can fuel save off of the race leader, and this essentially offsets any fuel he didn't put in the car over the course of the second stint. It's a huge gamble to do this, because if he's running that fuel tank right on the limit right now, and he can't stay in the tow for long enough over the course of this stint, he may be at risk of having a much longer second pit stop, alternatively having to do additional fuel saving and potentially lose places on this stint or going into the final stint of the race. Indeed, it was heartbreak time, you may remember, last season in the season finale at Road Atlanta, when Lazarus miscalculated the fuel by a lap and ends up losing out what could have been the win at Road Atlanta in the season finale in his battle with Philipp Hammer and Thomas Cope and Daniel Sedgley. But right now Lazarus does seem to be playing the strategy right on the limit, but to be fair, you got to be in it to win it, as they say, and Lazarus definitely is so, as they make the way on through what is the run out of Luffield and on towards the next lap, going on to lap number 13. Will mean, well, we look back to Lee Holmes here as he chases after Stephen Hobbs, and was a relatively quiet bottom end of the top 10. Is going to be livened up here by the 88 racing driver as he looks to go on the offensive, and you'll see here going very deep what is the run through Luffield. This is to intentionally set up the run out of the corner by getting a better exit, or at least that was the aim, but I think some wheel spin there, and those speed as James Parker is into that pit lane again. I think Parker's picked up a penalty at some point because he's lost multiple places on pit exit, and he's back in now immediately, unless something's gone very wrong with the fuel gun, or perhaps something's wrong with the tyres. But for James Parker, this race has suddenly come unstuck as Alistair Hatch has also into the mix as well. Well, that's a surprise and not a welcome one to be certain. As Lee Holmes makes way down into what we Maggots into Beckett here, carrying a bit too much speed, carrying the car on through and tries to bring it together, and Hobbs also makes the same error, albeit with Holmes there following his rival on through and almost end up in the grass there. The 35 driver will be saying to himself, don't do that again, because that could have been a very costly mistake as they made the way down the hanger straight. As they head in towards Stowe Corner here, Holmes now reset to 5.5 tenths on what is the back of Hobbs' car, and now he's got plenty more work to do. And as he does so, we look back to your oval standing on the left-hand side of your screen, and losing the rear of the car goes Holmes. We ride on board, and as the power goes down, the car then comes to an abrupt halt just beyond the escape road there out of Stowe Corner, and Lee Holmes in what was a very rough start to lap. Now it's only got worse, and indeed he's going to lose the place there to Adam Greason, who looks up the inside into the Vale, and Will Greason moves up into P12 overall, with Matt Acton also coming on through up for P11, and Glenn Humberstone gaining places, albeit he's going to have Matt Acton not too far behind him. So Lee Holmes there with an uncharacteristic error, but it's a costly one at that. And with 20 minutes of this race to go, well, there's still plenty of time to make up for that error. But Holmes will know that the more errors like that, the less tyre life he's going to have towards the end of the race. And that tyre life quotient is going to be a bigger factor here. With 45 minutes of racing, those left-hand side tyres absolutely taking a beating here at the Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit. As they make their way up through left into right. The new fastest lap of the race here for what is Philipp Hammer, 49.690, albeit off camera, but we can see him on camera as we look to Philipp Hammer from Impulse Racing, and will absolutely push it right now. And as he does so, I think the goal here will be for the Impulse Racing driver is to get nice and close to Kory Lazarus, put some pressure on the New Zealander, but at the same time focus on saving fuel and saving tyre life, and if he needs to, find a way ahead and then chase down Thomas Cope. But we have seen as well for Olympus Esport in these longer races, where it being the feature races of the heat feature combination, the 30-minute races or these 45-minute races, Olympus Esports do normally do a very good job of saving their tyres, much like Lazarus does, and it's normally been Impulse Racing who've struggled with tyre life by comparison. They normally lose the tyre life in the final 5 to 10 minutes. That seems to be the difference, although this season so far we have seen a bit more parity built between the two teams when it comes to tyre life around here, but I think that will be in the back of Hammer's mind in the fact, has he been able to look over those tyres long enough in order to give himself the maximum line as we go deeper and deeper into this race? Because if he hasn't got the life in the final couple of laps, that could be where things fall away. As meanwhile, we briefly used Thomas Cope from the lead there due to internet connectivity. However, that's not a sign of something to come, as if so, that could be an absolutely disastrous moment there. That'd be equivalent of an engine blow up in real life racing. We're not hoping for that, of course. We don't want to see any retirements if we can help it. All of our 24 starters still in this race, including Owen Halliday, who's the only driver who's a lap down or more. And as our drivers carry on here around the Silverstone circuit, well, we do have Sean Dobie not too much farther up the road from our race leaders. You'll see him in at due time, and that could also put a little bit of conundrum into the works in dealing with the traffic. But as Hammer chases his way on to another lap, onto lap number 15. This top three starting to close together, and Cope and Lazarus both lapping in the 50.1s, Hammer lapping in the 49.9s. I think the German driver here sees something he wants to gain, and that is a P2. And as they make the way onto Maggots into Beckett this time around, we jump on board here with Philipp Hammer. I think he's feeling as though now the time is right to start to try and get himself as close as he can in that battle for the lead in preparation for the final stint of the race. Because given our first pit stops occurred around what was the 20-minute mark, I would say we're expecting another pit stop right towards the end of this race with the 30-litre fuel tank. All drivers try and fuel tank, try and extend it as much as they can. But indeed, right now, those fuel tanks will be burning down. The cars will be getting lighter, but the tyre life as well will be gradually going against our driving systems. The cars will be in their best condition towards the end of this stint by looks things, and then after that it really will be who's got enough life left in the car in order to bring on home the victory. As they come on and through the Vale. Meanwhile, we look back to Paul Halliday versus Craig Shield. This is the battle for P16 overall on what is P6 in the silver class, and Shield defending goes a bit deep. The cannon through Cops Corner. Halliday goes for the cutback from outside to inside. It's going to be a drag race here into Maggots, and as they go side by side on in, Halliday's got the inside into the all-important turn 3, but Shield's still there as Halliday gives him the space. Now back to the inside goes Shield, but Halliday now from outside to inside here into Beckett. It's too wide all the way through. Brilliant racing between the two. Halliday then mounting the curve to get the rotation, but has to tuck back in immediately as they power their way on down the hanger straight, and as they head up towards what will be a Stowe corner, we can see their Shield defending as hard as possible to the inside, moves into the middle of the road. Halliday switches the inside now, and onto the brakes they go here as they make their way through the long right-hander of Stowe, but who's going to be the one who holds the advantage? Well, still knows ahead is Shield. Halliday on the inside there can't quite get the throttle down and use all the road width through fear of tapping his rival, but as they make their way into Val, Shield still defending and defending nicely as they make their way on through the chicane complex. As they come out to turn number 9, we ride on board and look back from the rear of the 82 car, and Halliday right there waiting to pounce, but the 86 Racing Sign driver not giving in whatsoever and showing his knowledge of the Silverstone circuit, knowing exactly where to place the car in order to frustrate his rival in the 175 as they made their way on through the Abbey complex, and now down into bridge they go. But as they do, you can see the gap starting to open up slightly for Shield, up to half a second as they wind their way up towards Priory, and Halliday is trying to follow as best he can, but Shield down a very tight entry line, in fact overcooking the apex. Meanwhile, Halliday now falling back in as they make the way on around through the left-hander of Brooklands. And the question being asked there by Megmo, which is why is James Parker down in P22? We saw him come into the pits quite recently. We're not sure why he came to the pits, but there is a story there for James Parker. In fact, a 45-second stationary time. I think that might have been a stop and hold penalty for speed into the pit. pit. But meanwhile, looking back to where we are now, Paul Halliday looking on the inside into Cops corner, and as Shield leaves the door open, Halliday's going to nicely respond, and Shield right now trying to hold it around the outside again, much like the previous lap, and does exactly that. But Halliday was slower on the exit, I think a bit sensitive on the throttle through fear of oversteer, and also making contact with his rival. Will Craig Shield regains the position and absolutely doesn't hesitate to put the car back into P16. But as they make their way on through turns at 5 into 6, we would like to take this moment to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you've been wondering about how you can vote for your driver of the day, and in fact we didn't announce in qualifying who the driver of the day was from last time out at Imola, and in fact it was Glenn Humberstone who took 50% of the vote, our third place silver driver, as he stands out there at the moment for ATEC Racing running the EMP10. So congratulations to Glenn for being our driver of the day from Imola, and we look forward to seeing plenty more from him over the course of this season. Well, we are now opening votes for your driver of the day for the Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit, and well, if you do want to cast your vote now, alternatively, come at the end of today's broadcast, do use the Google form link that has been posted in the YouTube or Twitch chat, depending on which media platform you're tuning in. Remember, votes are open until midnight this coming Sunday, and that will be Sunday the 4th of February, so you've got plenty of time. Don't feel as though you're pressured into voting immediately, but it's only 3 clicks and you can vote for your driver of the day, and of course it means a lot to our drivers to know who is the driver of the day for each and every round, and we will announce your driver of the day from Imola, not from Imola I should say, we've just done that, from Silverstone, as it will be in 2 weeks' time at the Nürburgring, and we'll be able to do so in the qualifying session. If not, we'll definitely do it in the race. But well, there's a bit more battling here between Halliday and what is Shield, as Halliday going very deep there on the brakes into Brooklands corner, brings it together, but that was very, very close to the mark there. I think Halliday coming in hot, and in the end locking up the brakes, and Shield trying to turn in, but finding what was the spearing car of the 175 in the gold machine, and the no pointers driver now brings himself back up to speed, but that's not going to help the tyre life or the brake life whatsoever. Particularly on that front left tyre, which is going to have felt an absolutely huge amount of heat surge for it under the lock-up there into Brooklands corner, and Halliday will be all too cognizant of that, and I think now wondering, okay, what do I need to do in order to find my way past my rival? And well, the answer is he's got to be a bit more inventive than the Cops, because Shield has got that corner absolutely locked down, but then again Halliday seems to have his best strength in the run out of Woodcote all the way into Cops corner. As they make their way on through and down to the hangar straight. Meanwhile, we look back towards the front of the field and give you another update with regards to your leader, Thomas Cope, who has got the gap from himself to Lazarus now up to 8 tenths. There's some more traffic in front. There's Joel Duton and also Owen Halliday as they make their way onto lap number 18. The 64 driver here, seeing what is his lap down rivals that step aside under the blue flags, and they're not going to interrupt the battle of the race leaders. They wouldn't dare to dream to do so, and as he heads on down towards turn at number 2. Right now it does look as though Lazarus starting to fall off slightly. Philipp Hammer falling back to 7 tenths, and then Daniel Sedgley a further 2.3 seconds off here as he makes his way through. And I do wonder whether for the Olympus esports driver, he's trying to play the long game here and play a bit more tactically compared to his rivals. But meanwhile, one driver who doesn't have that luxury is Emil Koopmans, who right now has been absolutely assailed by what is Ryan Walker and also Andrews. But Walker out of line as he goes through Maggots into Beckett, and Luke Andrews sneaks up the inside. He's been waiting for that for some time, and in the end Andrews gets it done, but is it over yet? Whereas they make their way down the hangar straight, here we jump on board with the satellite racing driver Walker as he gets into the toe, hits the limits then to 6th gear, and then make the way in towards Stoke corner. Well, sitting behind in the drive right now, but I think Walker will be very eager to try and get that place back. Gets a better run onto the apex of the corner. You can see that, and look at how the car's launched out there. 2 tenths is the gap. Andrews puts the car in the middle of the road initially to say to Walker, don't think about it. And in the end, Walker doesn't, but you can just see how much it means to Andrews and the fact he's been waiting for the best part of 30 minutes in order to try and make that move happen. And in the end, it's come from Walker being too close to Coopers and picking up some dirty air, and has compromised his run through Maggots into Beckett. And will we take a look back at how that move was made? So as we can see here on the replay, Andrews making his way around the outside to inside, but Walker just being slightly offline there as he came through turn 3, and that would have been the dirty air of running so close to the back of Emil Koopmans, and it only takes one minor error in order to trigger off a move, and that's exactly what Luke Andrews needed. And return to your live pictures here, riding aboard with Ryan Walker, but as they make the way on through Brooklands into Luffield, Now Andrew's starting to go on the offensive after Emil Koopmans. It looks like Koopmans really struggling now at this point in the race, as we've got a car in front going slightly wrong. That's Owen Halliday, who's taken to the grass and into the pits there. I think there might be some damage to the car, alternative tyres that have given up in terms of their life. Halliday makes his way on in safely into the pit lane, and from them, Joel Dudon has been involved in a bit of an incident further down, dropped from P22 to P23. But as Koopmans here tries to charge on, making his way up towards turn number 2. Right now the pressure could not be more intense on him from what is Andrews, and nor could it be further down the order as Alistair Hatcher, and recently passed by James Parker. Fighting for P9 here in the silver class is Hatcher, as we show you the class stands on the left hand side of your screen. And he's got Daniel Weston encroaching very quickly as they make the way out through Abbey and on towards Bridge with 10 minutes to go, plus also the final lap of this race. It does seem for our drivers here as though tyre life is becoming a bigger concern by the lap. And meanwhile, here comes Weston up the inside. Hatcher doesn't see it coming, and Weston absolutely going all in there and sending it and making it work. They're going to his primary corner. A lovely move from Daniel Weston, and Alistair Hatcher being caught out there on the ATEC Racing Sign Drive, dropping down to P10 in the silver class, as now Weston moves up to P9. But then can he hold on with Hatcher getting the better run here through Luffield into the pits? Meanwhile, have come both Cameron Smith and Craig Shield, who will be at their second pit stop of the day and their final pit stop on the schedule. And well, as Hatcher stays close to the back of Weston, in towards turn 1 they go. I don't think there's going to be a move forthcoming from here from Hatcher, given the fact he's too far back to try and think about lunging into the corner, and it's not an open apex compared to Priory. But as they come in towards Maggots into Beckett, we'll keep our eyes on this battle, as right now I think Hatcher trying to tee up another move and trying to look for what is a potential move here. As meanwhile, we can definitely tell you that in terms of further around the circuit, we've had what is relatively standard pit stops for Craig Schill and also Cameron Smith, but meanwhile Ian Halliday spent the best part of almost 1.5 minutes in the pits, so therefore I think an issue with the car. But Hatch here not close enough to look for a move going into Stowe corner, and therefore having to wait until a bit later to keep the pressure on Daniel Weston. From then we look back to Emil Koopmans, and only a couple of laps ago he had the pressure of Ryan Walker this close behind him, but now it's going to be Luke Andrews who's looking to do the same as the Effect Simulation drive, trying to hold on for the final spot of the overall top 5 and in the gold class here today, with the top 4 12 seconds up the road. And as they weave and wind their way from Maggots into Beckett's here, right now the Dutchman of Koopmans really are feeling the heat as they make the way on through. Matt Acton into the pit lane, by the way, so therefore we could expect some pit stops from our gold leaders soon, given the fact that Acton might be seen as the trigger for the rest of the pit stops. But as the drivers make their way down the hanger straight, Andrews looks up the inside, trying to throw a dummy in here, trying to get Koopmans to think the move's going to come, but in the end, no move, and Koopmans there parking the car slightly on apex, saying to Andrews, "Two can play that game, I know the rule book as much as you." And as they make their way down into Vale, we're going into left into right, and Ryan Walker close as well, as they weave and wind their way through left into right, just in front of the Sean Dobie, who'll be a lap down shortly on the trio, as they make their way out to turn number 10, and it could not be closer between the big jump forward and look back from the rear of the Effect Simulations 911 as they head in towards the braking zone, and going from left into right here right now. He's going to have a little bit of toe give to Sean Dobie, but will that be beneficial toe, given the fact he's coming into the downhill and uphill charge of Bobby Bridge and then Priory, where that dirty over the front of the car from any scupper. What will be the prospect to get a nice turn, and Cameron goes a little bit deep as he makes his way on through, and here comes Andrews up the inside. It only took a small mistake from Koopmans, and Andrews immediately seizes the day as they make their way in towards Luffield Bend. Well, as they do, Koopmans still on the inside. Andrews is not going to have it all his own way as they turn on through, but right now both drivers make their way through the right hander. Will either of them come into the pits, and Koopmans decides to go into the pits. He reacts immediately, knowing that Andrews is on the outside. It forces Andrews to do another lap. Walker follows him on through. Meanwhile, whilst this is playing out, Thomas Cope is into the pits on the lead of the race. Kory Lazarus retakes the lead here at the moment on track, with Philipp Hammer right behind. Daniel Sedgley has fallen the best part of which 3.5 seconds off of this. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Sedgley, but right now the pace is not with the second Olympus Esports driver, and as they make the way in towards what will be turn number 7 here, coming up into Stowe, up the inside goes Hammer. I think Lazarus hasn't got enough fuel for this lap. I think he's having to back off and let Hammer go, and he's trying to give that signal on through as they make the way on into what will be turn number 8, and as they come into left-hander, making the way on through the left into right, which is going to be what is a very close one. And another observation, number you are making the Twitch chat there, both Connor DM Craven and Medvo, in the fact that we did see Emil Koopmans lock up and actually make contact with the pit wall on entry, but we couldn't quite talk about that, and the fact we had to switch back to the battle for the on-track lead at the time. But Hammer has taken the on-track lead with Thomas Cope out of the pit lane now, and as they make the way on through and onwards to what will be the bridge corner. We'll try and get a replay of what happened to Emil Koopman shortly for reference, but right now we're right in the grips of what is the strategic battle plus the on-track battle. And well, for what is Lazarus and Hammer here, have they got enough time over Cope, who's come out in P6, a very comfortable P6, a lonely P6 as you can see on that circuit map. He's just left turn number 10 and making his way up towards Abbey, and therefore this could be the opportunity for what will be Thomas Cope to re-jump into lead, as meanwhile Lazarus and Hammer go another lap. Well, I don't think Lazarus was struggling for fuel necessarily, unless he's decided to back off and fuel save, and also knowing that they'll be in this fight. But meanwhile, Sedgley into the pits here from P3 was effective P4, and we believe the Olympus Esports driver here is not going to be able to make up the time, and his race has just fallen away over the distance. But as he makes his way on down, meanwhile we have had a retirement for Emil Koopmans, and well, that's a surprise and not a welcome one to be sure. But what exactly happened to Emil Koopmans is the big question that we are trying to understand. And we will try and give you the information on that very shortly, as here comes Thomas Cope, who's into the pits again. It's pandemonium, Olympus Esports, it's all falling apart. Sedgley's pace has fallen away, and Cope is coming in for a third pit stop. They've forgotten something when he came on in, but what exactly is it? Is it the pit limiter, or is it something with the car? Andrews and Walker into the pits. In fact, they're leaving the pit lane right now, but that means this race has gone from being what could have been Cope strategically, as he does come to a stop. It's going to be a race between Philipp Hammer and Kory Lazarus all the way to the end here, and right now I don't think they're aware of this. I think they're fighting for P2, but meanwhile they're actually going to be fighting for the win of this race as they make the way up towards turn number 11 with 5 minutes left on the clock. And if they can both go the distance here, surely they've got to come in for a quick splash and dash. This is going to come down to the finest margins in the pits as they make the way on through, but as they do, well, we will be having a look back at what happened to Emil Koopmans on pit lane entry shortly, ladies and gentlemen, but we're not going to detract right now. This is the lead battle on strategy and on track, and with Daniel Sedgley 27.5 seconds back, I don't think he's anywhere near close enough to get involved as Cope left the pits, but here comes Lazarus. He's on the inside in towards left field corner. Hammer defence outside to inside here 9. It's better to be on the inside of the second corner in sequence so long as you keep your nose ahead. And as they make the way on through, I think both drivers here are going to make the way into the pit shortly. And indeed they do, as they come on down pit lane and onto the brakes they both go. It's going to be very close between them. You can see there that Lazarus getting so close, practically touching the rear of his rival to say to Hammer, get a move on. I want this lead off of you, as they make the way down towards their pit stalls, where it is going to be literally nip and tuck between them by the time the fuel guns go on. And if there's any tyre changes, that could be the differentiator. But we'll have to wait and see. This is going to be just as much about every drop of fuel saved as it is going to be about who gets the best launch out of their pit box with the pit limiters, of course. And we're the closest battle on circuit, and Lazarus leaves. So does Hammer, and Lazarus retakes the lead there with a very quick pit stop for the pair of them. But Lazarus is now your leader with 3.5 minutes to go as they made the way onto the run for Magnussen to Beckett, and right now there's nothing between the two as they roar through. Daniel Sedgley sits 3.5 seconds back. He's not quite in this fight, although he has closed the gap to a degree. And as they make the way on around right now with the back out OPR driver Kory Lazarus, he's on course for potentially his first oval win of the season, and the last oval win he notched was back at Catalonia in season 7 in the feature race. And as they make the way on down the back straight here, well, it's going to be close, and already Hammer looking to try and make the move around the outside. Lazarus defends here in the 404, the number 60 drive, giving the space as they roar around, but also looking for a potential move, a cut back here down to Vale, but no such move forthcoming right now as they make the way towards the braking zone. Looking again, already Hammer absolutely going all in here with the tools of the trade in order to try and find a move, but he can't quite find it still as we ride on board here with the number 60 drive. Both drives squirming for grip as they make the way on around turns 9 and 10. Hammer goes a little bit wide, dirtier, taking the front end of the car into understeer territory as they make the way onto the brakes here, going in to Abbey corner. From left into right they go, and then shortly onto the farm straight, bouncing over the curbs here, and Hammer right now a little bit, I think, frustrating the fact that that pit stop didn't bring him back out in the lead despite he was leading coming into the pit. Lazarus right now proving that he can be the one to stay ahead, but as they make the way on for a left-hander, we have got 2 minutes left on the clock. The next lap will be the last lap of racing here at the Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit today, and as they make the way in towards Luffield corner, it's one more lap that separates the pair. It could be Kory Lazarus' first win of the season. For Hammer, it could be another win in the books. Both of them will want this win, there's no doubt about it, but who wants it more? Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. One more lap to go as they roar their way onto the start-finish straight, and as they do, Daniel Sedgley still 3.4 seconds back. He's an outsider in this battle, but should they end up batting too hard, he may become an element suddenly. And as they make the way on through the corner there, you can see Kory Lazarus pushing it to the absolute track limits. Hammer following on through, and as they make the way on through Magnussen to Beckett's here right now. It is literally a game of cat and mouse here, but Hammer knows he's got to stay close. He's got to offset the dirty air, and he's got to try and put the pressure onto Lazarus to make him make an error. The thing about Kory Lazarus is he doesn't make mistakes, neither does Hammer. These two are absolutely infallible as they make the way on down the straight. You can see Hammer there constantly bobbing and weaving, following Lazarus around, making sure to stay in the toe, trying to siphon every little bit of speed and slipstream as they make the way up the hill and into the right of Stowe Corner, but no way through as he makes his way around, and as they do, coming down towards Vale, it's the better exit for Lazarus, opens the gap up to 3.5 tenths for a brief moan. Onto the brakes they go, and as they roll their way from left into right here, now it's all going to be about that rear tyre life. Who's got more? Many of you commenting on the fact that Lazarus has been saving his tyres throughout today, and it does seem to tell a story here, for as they make the way out the right hand, and Lazarus right now seems to be opening the gap up little by little as they head in towards what the Abbey corner, through the left into right, and this is normally where Hammer starts to close up to a degree, but Lazarus right now still holding on. This is the closest battle on circuit. We're staying with it all the way to the end, ladies and gentlemen. All the other battles are calmed on down, but not this one as they come in towards Priory Bend. Only 3 more corners to go, and as they come on through, it's looking more and more as though it's Lazarus is to take through what is Brooklands corner. 2 quarters to go. It's then going to be Lovefield, and the New Zealander right now makes his way on through the right-hander. Hammer's there, he's close, but he's not close enough. It's a drag race to the line. The checker flag awaits him. 1 more corner at Woodcourt, but as Kory Lazarus comes on around, the checker flag waves. He's done it, ladies and gentlemen. The Blackout OPR driver takes the win at the line, head of Philipp Hammer P2 for Impulse Racing, and it'll be Daniel Sedgley P3 for Olympus Esports there, followed up by Luke Andrews in due course, a further 15 seconds behind in what will be a full place finish here. Best result of the season for Q Controls of Parto Course, and as he comes to the timeline, the Briton will be followed up by the Scotsman of Ryan Walker, who takes another top 5 for Satellite Racing on his return, and then it will be Matt Strand who takes an absolutely infallible silver class win and P6 for the Race Lab Esports drive from Norway. And what a result, with Stephen Hobbs in the end taking 2nd place in the silver class, P7 as he crosses the line. But as all the drivers come on through, Matt Acton will then come on home P8 there to separate the top 3 silver drivers, with Glenn Humberstone back on the silver podium once again, P9. Adam Grieveson on his return to race in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, P4 in the silver class, P10 overall, head of Thomas Cope with that 3rd pit stop. A frustrating end to the day for the Olympus Esports drive, what looked to be a guaranteed win. But Marcel Fritsch Lois Racing Esports, the Austrian driver, P12 there, ahead of Cameron Smith, and who will wrap up the top 5 of the silver class as he heads to the line in what's been a difficult day for the Britishman, but find his way on through eventually. Alice Thatcher P6 in the class, P14 overall, ahead of Lee Holmes, who was P15, and then we do have a further 10 seconds behind in what has been a challenging day today, but he finishes ahead of James Parker. It's Paul Halliday P16 for Noel Pointers, ahead of Parker P17, and then it will be Craig Schill who comes around P18 there for ATET Racing Cyan in what has not been a strong day for the team, but still he'll take that result there in the number 82, and then it'll be Guy Liao, the Wrong Stuffs driver, who completes your finishes on the lead lap there, P19, and well, the Wrong Stuff driver taking P9 in at the silver class, and Daniel Weston, who was your 10th place finisher, albeit lap down in P20. But as our drivers make the way on for indeed a number of them already into the pits, not Kory Lazarus here, as I think he is going to literally save up and savour the moment all the way through to pit entry. And what a drive for the Blackout OPR driver. Put it on pole today, and well, that was a sign of something special coming here at Silverstone. And in at the end, he may have lost the lead midway through the race. Indeed, in the early stage of the race, it was going the way of Thomas Cope, but when bad luck struck Thomas Cope, it was Lazarus and Hammer who it fell to, and in the end, through a quick 2nd pit stop, Kory Lazarus was the driver to take the result home. And to be fair, Hammer pushed him every step of the way, but in the end, well, the New Zealander just found a way to step ahead in what was a thrilling run to the finish. Meanwhile, your silver winner of Matt Strand adds another win to the books, albeit making up for the absence of wins last time at Imola, but still he won't be complaining as his run of podiums continue. He has finished on the podium in every single race this season at bar 1, ladies and gentlemen. Such is his consistency. Indeed, this is now, I do believe, his 4th win of the season as well, and a championship that is more Ryan Moore heading the way to Norway for the 273 driver as he comes on down. But then again, Stephen Hobbs, second place today for Fusion Racing with his teammate Adam Greason 2 places further behind. They couldn't quite make it a 2-3 on the podium. They would like to, much like at Sebring when it was Hobbs and Basson on the podium together. But still, the Briton will be very happy, as will his teammate. They brought home some major points as he makes his way on around, and as he does so, Matt Acton, of course, splitting the two teammates, and Glenn Humberstone as well, third place in the silver class, and well for Humberstone, not quite the wins of Imola, but still he'll feel so it's a win today, as the 2-1-2 drive, they're picking up another podium, and the points keep on pouring in. But as our drivers make their way to their pit stalls, indeed get out their cars to enjoy the celebrations, let's take you through those race results subject to any Stewards inquiries, and here they are. In what was an incredible race here at Silverstone today for our third endurance race round of the season. It was, of course, round number 9 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 9, brought to you on the premier sim racing platform on PC known as iRacing. Kory Lazarus taking the win there for Blackout OPR by 6/10 over Impulse Racing's Philipp Hammer. Olympus Esports' Daniel Sedgley completing the podium overall in the gold class there. It was close in the end, but Sedgley not quite having the pace in the midpoint of the race to be able to maintain the ferocious chase of the win, but still a podium that's well deserved and earned. Head of Luke Andrews, P4 there for Cube Controls Reparto course, not quite on the podium, but best of the rest, and a Satellite Racing's Ryan Walker who completed your top 5. Matt Strand, P6, with the silver driver there, taking the silver class win for RaceLab Esports, head of Stephen Hobbs by a margin of 8 seconds. But the Fusion Racing driver will be happy with a P2. Another strong result there for himself and the team. Matt Acton, the gold driver, P8 for the Sim Racing Collective, ahead of Glenn Humberstone, with the ATEC Racing driver being followed up by Adam Greason there for Fusion Racing. Thomas Coates P11 for Olympus Esports there in a dramatic and a not a positive end to his day today, having to make that third pit stop. He'll still get points for what will be at P7 in the gold class, but 9 is a result that has not gone his way, and the win that he wanted in order to come back after missing Imola has now gone far and away and astray. But from him, Marcel Fritsch, WS Racing Esports there, a further 12 seconds behind in a bit of a quiet race for the Austrian in the number 27, and then Cameron Smith, Alistair Hatcher and Lee Holmes completing what was your top 15 there, with the two silver drivers just missing out on the silver podium, as indeed did Adam Greason. From them was P16 Paul Halliday for the Knoll Pointers, ahead of James Parker, with Craig Shield for ATEC Racing Cyan completing run to P18, ahead of Guy Kyleout and Daniel Weston. Daniel Weston being the first driver to finish a lap down there in P20 overall for Project 88, and what was in the end P10 in the silver class, but still classified as a race finisher, as will be Sean Dobie for Clicks for ATEC Racing. Owen Halliday at P22 there for the Knoll Pointers, 2 laps down. 4 laps down for Effect Simulations' Emil Koopmans after that contact with the pit wall we couldn't quite get you a replay of when he made his way in for his final pit stop of the day. Very unfortunate there for the 911 driver. And then Joel Douton out of the race with 7 laps to go. Will still be classified as a race finisher, as he did complete over half the race distance. But for the wrong stuff, it definitely wasn't his day today. P24. But now let's take you through those race results in the individual classes, given that's where all the points are scored. And in the gold class, Kory Lazarus taking the win there for Blackout OPR by 6/10 over Impulse Racing's Philipp Hammer. And then a further, what was 4 seconds behind, Olympus Esports' Daniel Sedgley. Luke Andrews, the Cube Controls Reparto course, a further 16 seconds behind. That goes to show you how fast the pace of our top 4 leaders was over the race with that gap to Luke Andrews. But still, he'll be pleased to have taken P4 ahead of Ryan Walker, who round off your top 5. And the Satellite Racing driver was the best part of 21 seconds clear of Matt Acton in P6. Thomas Cope, P7 in the end, not the way he wanted it to go, and Marcel Fritsch P8 just behind, where Lee Holmes and James Parker completed all your lead lap finishes in the gold class, with James Parker, of course, having that extra pit stop cost him what could have been a result today, and in the end, P10 was the best he could do in the privateer machine, and then Will Koopmans for that retirement 4 laps in the end for Effect Simulations, P11. And after them, we come on to the silver class, last but by no means least. And here we can see Matt Strand, your winner for RaceLab Esports by 8.2 seconds over Fusion Racing Stephen Hobbs. And Glenn Humberstone wrapping up the podium there for ATEC Racing. It was a 3-team podium there. It's been some time since we've seen that in the silver class. But congratulations to our podium finishers. And only a second behind Adam Greason for Fusion Racing, who definitely has got the bit between his teeth and will be looking for a podium next time out. Cameron Smith, P5 the privateer, 5 seconds clear of Alistair Hatcher, with Paul Halliday a P7 today, and the null pointers drive having a difficult race after a difficult qualifying session, with Craig Shield, Guy Kiley out, and Daniel Weston completing a top 10. Weston being a lap down, as was Sean Dobie, Bester SP11 for clicks with ATEC Racing, and definitely what has been a difficult couple of rounds, and those continue for the Scotsman. And then Owen Halliday 2 laps down as he finished the null pointers, and a Joel Douton who finished 7 laps down in the end, retired 7 laps in the end, but will be classified as a finisher due to completing over the half race distance for the wrong stuff. But that concludes our rundown of the finishing positions, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, all those subject to stewards' inquiries, and what a race, no doubt about it. But of course, we're not quite done as yet, because coming up shortly will be our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. But just before that, we'd like to remind you that voting for your driver of the day is open, and we just reposted the Google Forms link in both the YouTube and Twitch chats, and do use that form if you want to cast your vote for your driver of the day. If you've got someone clearly in mind right now, whether it's say Kory Lazarus for the overall win, or alternatively a driver further down the order, such as Luke Andrews for his battle to P4 ahead of Ryan Walker, or perhaps it could be the likes of Adam Greaves on his return to racing, taking P4 in the Silver Class P10, do let us know, because we will announce the driver of the day during the qualifying session at the Nürburgring in 2 weeks' time. But coming up shortly, ladies and gentlemen, are your post-round interviews. Don't go anywhere, you won't miss them. We'll be back in approximately 12 to 15 minutes' time. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for us to conduct our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today, we've only got one driver who's available for interview. However, he is our driver who led the way at the front of the field in qualifying and brought it on home in the end for victory overall in the gold class. It's none other than Kory Lazarus. And without further ado, it brings me great pleasure to have him join me in the interview room. Good morning to you, Kory. It's been a long time since we've had the pleasure of chatting to yourself, but what an occasion to have you back in the interview room. It's been some time, but today at Silverstone, you nailed it. Pole position in qualifying, and then in the race, making strategy work with a little bit of luck as well, but bringing home the checker flag. I mean, you couldn't ask for more.
Morning, Paul. Yeah, stoked with that, mate. Absolutely chuffed with that. Has been a little while. Pretty unexpected, to be fair, but yeah, absolutely chuffed with that. We'll take it.
Oh, no doubt about it. And let's talk a little bit about it in terms of segments, starting with qualifying. I mean, we've normally seen you qualify very strongly in this Porsche Cup Series, but today it looked as though it was no holds barred in qualifying. Provisional pole early on, and in the entire pole position by 600ths at the finish. It was close.
Very close. And again, that was unexpected. I always seem to struggle with the 2-lap or the 3-lap quali, but when there's a little bit of time to get the tyres in a window, I'm a lot more comfortable. I don't seem to be able to push as hard as the other guys on the shorter qualies, but yeah, I was counting down the minutes during the session and I was watching, just expecting Philip or Dan or Thomas to eclipse that, and it just didn't come, so pleasantly surprised.
And I have to ask, many drivers talk about preferring the older layout to Silverstone compared to the modern one. Your thoughts on that in terms of running this layout?
Yeah, it's good. I like both of them. I really do. We've had a couple of really good battles with Philip over the years on the modern layout as well. But yeah, no qualms either or. They're both good fun and provide some good opportunities for racing.
Oh, no doubt about it. And let's just jump straight in to the race. And then at the start of the race, we saw a relatively good start from yourself, albeit Thomas Cope getting the better run to the outside into Cop's corner. You didn't let him have that, but then later on in the opening lap, he found a way through going into the Vale chicane.
Yeah, I still don't have a load cell for my clutch pedal, so I'm just doing the grandpa starts, the 100% brake and gas to not get any wheel spin, but the load cell's just turned up, so we'll be getting some faster starts as we move forward. And then once Thomas got around, which was sort of expecting it, I was happy to let him lead because just needed to save the tyres and save some fuel. But yeah, it was typical start for me at the moment.
It was a good start, and we know that you do look after the tyres better than most on this grid. And after what was a couple of laps of early racing, it looked as though you went into full fuel conservation, tyre preservation mode.
It was literally from lap 1 right until when Philip and I exited the pits together at the end. It was clutching as much as I could and just trying to keep a low gear and drive it off nice and straight. So yeah, it was full tyre fuel conservation the whole time.
Now, just with regards to that, doing the fuel saving, the tyre conservation, I can imagine here at Silverstone, with it being what is a clockwise circuit with many right-handers that really load up those left-hand side tyres, you could notice the difference as the race went on in terms of how much tyre life was left on the left side.
You can generally, but I don't know. I was just very fortunate. The tyres just felt good the entirety of the race. I think, trying to minimise any sliding coming out of any corners, it really helped. And towards the end of the race, they felt just as strong as they did at the start.
Well, that's definitely interesting to hear, and I think it goes a long way to explain how the pace came back alive in the late stages, although I have to talk a little bit about the second stint. We saw you come out the pit very close to the back of Thomas Cope once again, and it looked as though all the gap that had been opened up in stint 1 suddenly got closed back down, and it was all about just gluing yourself to the back of the Olympus Esports driver.
Yeah, I just think we probably put in less fuel than Thomas, so a shorter stop perhaps. And then, yeah, when we first come out into that second stint, I was umming and ahhing whether we push really hard and try and make a race of it then. But did some quick calculations in my head and thought better of it and just back to fuel conservation mode. And it looked like Thomas was sort of pushing at times, and I could see him wiggling out of a few corners, which probably didn't help his tyres. So yeah, like second stint again, just the same as the first, to try and stick to the back of him and not lose too much time.
Well, it definitely worked out well at that second stint, albeit we did see Philipp Hammer towards the end of it just start to stick his nose in and go for the move to take what was the on-track lead. Was that something you expected, or was it something you had to react to?
I always expect it with Philip. You know, he's the master of coming home strong in all the races. Pretty much since day one that I've been racing him, he's always finishing races strong. So it was expected. And when we first come out of the pits, I think our outlap, when he had a look around the outside at the end of hangar, I think that was a little bit nervous because my ping is terrible from this part of the world, and you know, super conscious about that. But yeah, like Philip's always going to come and have a run at the end of it, so it was expected, and it's nice to have some clean racing.
Oh, no doubt about it. And speaking of things being clean, a clean sweep out the pit lane for the second pit stop to take the lead back with only 2 laps to go. I mean, your heart must have been absolutely pounding as you left the pit lane.
Yes, the temperature in the room went up about 1,000 degrees, and the sweat started to come out. But it was immensely fun, and I was really curious. Did Thomas get a pit lane violation or something? Because he just wasn't there, and I was half expecting him just to sweep around the front of us when we came out. So, what happened to Thomas there?
We're not 100% sure, but we believe it may have been something that was either missed in the pits or, like you say, a pit lane violation, because he did come in and take a 3rd stationary stop.
Okay, yeah, unlucky for Thomas, because it would have been a good 3-car battle at the end, no doubt.
With you on that one, but in the end we retreated to a 2-car battle, and with that final lap to go, we did see Philip take a couple of sneak peeks here and there, particularly down the hangar straight, but it looks like that gap was only going one way and in your favour. I have to ask, how did it feel coming out of the final corner, seeing the checker flag and knowing it's your first win in the series since Catalonia back in season 7?
Yeah, I think ecstatic. It's I'm still a long way behind seat time compared to Thomas and Philip. Not even half the amount of time that those guys have done. So I'm still playing learning with these guys. You know, I'm trying to just catch up and dedicate my racecraft and get a little bit better, because yeah, I'm quite a way off in terms of, you know, track time. So I was very, very happy. It has been few and far between, like you said. Yeah, I was very happy, mate. Thank you.
Oh, you definitely do sound happy and a bit emotional as well. And well, what a way to wrap up the mid-Porsche of the season. Taking the win, we've still got the best part of 4 rounds of racing to go. Albeit we've got a week's break before we return in Germany at the combined Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke layout. How are you feeling for a trip to the Green Hell?
Well, I love the track. I'm not particularly fast around there. So just try and finish somewhere up towards the front. If we can. It's a terrific track. It's probably the best track on the platform. It's so much fun, but in saying that, it's immensely hard to nail consistently good laps. So, you know, the guys that live over there, and, you know, we say drive it to school every single day, know it like the back of their own hand. So I'm not expecting too much, but yeah, hopefully have a decent run.
We look forward to seeing how you tackle the change that lies ahead in 2 weeks' time in our next endurance race round of the season. But just before I do let you go, Kory, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast today?
Yeah, got a couple, thanks. The guys at Blackout OPR, got Sam, who runs Distraction Sim Gear, Chase Clothing, and I've got a couple of local companies sponsoring us, Astute Finance at East Brisbane and Fisher Door Lawyers, also in Brizzy here. Thanks to you guys, thanks to Phil for another good, solid race, and everyone that's on the grid. Big thanks.
Kory, we have to give a big thank you to you as well for joining me for an interview this evening, but not only that, for putting on an absolutely stellar performance today. A fantastic win, all matched up with a brilliant pole position. We look forward to plenty more in the remaining rounds of the season when we return after the mid-season break. But until then, savour the victory, you've earned it, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Paul. Early birthday present. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I'll take that. Thank you.
Happy birthday to you from all of us here at UKSimRacing.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
So hearing there from the birthday man, a day early, Kory Lazarus there, and what a way to go into his birthday with a win today for Blackout OPR. And it's been a long time since we've seen him on that top step of the podium. He's pushed hard for it over the course of the recent rounds of racing, there's no doubt about it. And really talking about the fact, expecting time and time again in qualifying that provisional pole lap to be defeated and go the way of either Philipp Hammer or Thomas Cope, but it not happening, and then starting on pole, making the remarks with regards to the fact that not quite having perhaps the clutch technology that he would like compared to some of his rivals, for a relatively standard start, albeit expecting to lose the lead by the end of the open lap to his rival Thomas Cope, and then having to focus more and more about fuel saving and tyre saving. It was always going to be a big topic of conversation. We talked about it from the start of the race over these 45-minute races, just how the tyres are abused, and indeed those fuel loads, with them only being 30 litres, the forced 2 pit stops as a result. But for Kory Lazarus today, it was a one-way route to victory, and the fact that making sure to save the fuel over the course of the stints, much like his rivals, and well, expecting after the second pit stop in particular to see what was Thomas Cope come around the outside. A bit of fortune there favouring the drivers further down, and for Thomas Cope, we don't know the full story of course, but things not working out in that second pit stop, and very unfortunate for Olympus esports driver. But when he fell, Blackout OPR's Kory Lazarus was there to sneak back into the lead ahead of Philipp Hammer on the pit exit, and then run away to victory, albeit Hammer gave it everything. And talking there as well, Kory, about the long-standing rivalry and also off-track friendship between himself and Philipp, which definitely shows there as the two of them gave it everything, but in the end only one could win today, and that was Kory Lazarus. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our interviews for today. We've only had the one interview, but still a great interview all the same to be hearing from our race winner overall and in the gold class, Kory Lazarus there for Blackout OPR. And if he's captivated your driver of the day, well, we'd just like to clarify, if you've been wondering why you can't vote for him in the driver of the day form, it is an error we've noticed. We are in the process of resolving that, and therefore you should be able to vote for Kory Lazarus. Indeed, any other drivers who might be missing from the driver of the day form in the coming minutes, if not the coming hours. But beyond that, if you do want to cast your vote, do remember that votes close as of midnight this Sunday, the 4th of February. That's Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Coordinate Time. So you've got plenty of time. You've got the next 3 days, so you're not rushed into it, but we'd like to hear your driver of the day vote. And that way, whether it's Kory Lazarus or any one of our other drivers, you'll be able to hear who earns the driver of the day accolade for Silverstone's Grand Prix Circuit when we go into qualifying at the Nürburgring in 2 weeks' time. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid for a future season of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, perhaps even dip your toes in towards the tail end of this season, or you're interested in what else we're hosting here at UKSimRacing, well, for all that and more, we recommend you go to our website firstly. You saw it earlier in the broadcast. That's uksimracing.co.uk, where you can find your feet, find out more about us, and get signed up today. Or at least if you want to, join our Discord and be amongst like-minded individuals who are massive fans of sim racing, motorsport, and you name it, we've probably got somebody on our Discord who's into it, from what is cricket all the way through to tennis. But not batting things about here, let's come back to the fact, if you don't want to join us on Discord or indeed go to our website, you can always follow us on social media, and that is via our Twitter at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_. We can stay up to date with all the latest announcements regarding our ongoing and upcoming events, plus also the trials and tribulations of the official UKSimRacing esports teams. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, who do include Swello Media's Sim Racing Coaching, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swello Media's Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing drive to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain the 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swello Media has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swello being a multi-time champion of the official iRacing series, which do include 2021 PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching from the very best in the industry. We also have their Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, so no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks can help drive you to realize your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high quality sim racing related hardware, as a proud partner of AMG Petronas Esports. Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports. SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. Amazon, the company trying to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, which do include but are not limited to Amazon Prime, Amazon Web Services, and Amazon Alexa. And lastly, but by no means least, SRC Driver Academy, a division of SimRacing Community. Elevate your SimRacing skills with SRC Driver Academy. The team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromising on quality. But why choose SRC? Affordable, quality coaching. They have experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high-quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. You can learn race strategies, precision driving, and much more, as they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly hours a day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Visit their website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we may be turning down the speed somewhat with a mid-season break awaiting us as of next week, but rest assured it's only a week's break, for we will be back on Thursday the 15th of February 2024, save the date, for our 4th endurance race round of the season, and our drivers will be taking on the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke, or the combined Grand Prix and Nordschleife layouts. And as the Green Hell comes to life in Germany, who out of our drivers will be able to take on the tantalising test of talent that is the Nürburgring and come out on top when they return to the grid? We'll find out then, but until then, we've been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.